broadcasting live from somewhere in the great upper Midwest and beaming directly to you worldwide. This is Night Talks Radio.
Some people are probably thinking this is the end of the world.
That's true.
Do you think it could be?
Yes.
How can you say that?
That wasn't the answer you wanted?
Couldn't you pretend to be like you used to be? Give me some comfort.
People break down into two groups. When they experience something lucky, group number one sees it as more than luck, more than coincidence. They see it as a sign, evidence that there is someone up there watching out for them. Group number two sees it as just pure luck, a happy turn of chance. For them, this situation is a 50-50. Could be bad. Could be good. But deep down, they feel that whatever happens, they're on their own. And that fills them with fear. Yeah, there are those people. But there's a whole lot of people in the group number one. They're looking at a miracle. And deep down, they feel that whatever's going to happen, there'll be someone there to help them. And that fills them with hope. See, what you have to ask yourself is, what kind of person are you? Are you the kind that sees signs, sees miracles? Or do you believe that people just get lucky? Or look at the question this way. Is it possible that there are no coincidences?
I'm a miracle man.
There you go.
So which type are you?
Do you feel comforted?
Yeah, I do.
Then what does it matter? There is no one watching out for us, Meryl. We are all on our own.
Streaming to you live from Spreaker.com and somewhere deep in the great upper Midwest. If you're ready for a ride, you can call NTR anytime by dialing the nationwide caller line at 1-507-384-9390. First-time callers can reach Night Talks Radio at 1-507-307-4424. Text Daniel and NTR exclusively at 1-218-689-7126. Now, from somewhere in the great upper Midwest, here's your hosts, Daniel Brewer and Jennifer Gregerson.
Hello, everybody. Daniel Brewer here with you on a wonderful Saturday evening. Night Talks Radio. Brand new edition with Dr. Simeon Hein as our guest tonight. Jennifer, can you explain a little bit about our special guest tonight?
Dr. Simeon Hein examines critical new scientific findings in coherent energy matter and how these ideas he can explain the paranormal phenomenons like space-time orbs, Bigfoot, and other mysterious cryptids. He's a university professor in statistics and research, along with a teacher of remote viewing and a remote viewer himself.
Wow.
The results of his 1996 experiment into remote viewing convinced Dr. Hein that there is a large area of scientific knowledge that is secret and being held from the public.
Really? Well, I don't doubt that one bit.
No, I don't at all.
Most things are hidden from the public.
Yep.
We are well tuned into that, so to speak.
Oh, yeah. They've been doing it for many, many years.
Yes, in multiple ways, from UFOs, UAPs, cryptids, paranormal. Things are always kept from us because if they tell us, their excuse is it will be mass chaos and they won't be able to control us and we're not smart enough to know this type of information. Okay, yeah, and that's a good thing that you say that because what did that one spokesperson from NASA say? Oh, yes, she was a spokesperson from NASA, that is correct. A couple years ago, about 5 or 6 years ago to be exact, she was talking to a reporter and asked the reporter, the reporter asked her, would you tell the public if there was, a danger to the planet, like an asteroid or, like a supernova, something like that, whatever have you. And she looked at him with a smirk on her face and essentially said, well, think of it this way. If you were told that in 6 months, the beautiful house that you have, the 1 or 2 cars that you have, and all the nice things, your computers and this and that, and you have to pay bills on those things, of course. Oh, yes. In 6 months, if I told you that was all going to be destroyed, say by like a fire or something, some sort of accident, everything was destroyed. Mm-hmm. Everything. Yeah. Not a single thing left. Yeah. She said, would you continue to pay your bills for the next 6 months? No. And he said, no. Of course. That's what just I would like say, you just said, and just like I would say. Right. And when he said no, she simply turned away with a smirk on her face and said, exactly. Wow. So NASA will not inform us if something major is coming. Let's also see what Dr. Simeon Hein has to say about the secret experiments that they hold behind. Let's bring him in, the guest of the night, Dr. Simeon Hein. Simeon, are you there, my friend?
Hey, how are you doing tonight?
I am doing wonderful. How's it going for you?
I'm doing good, thank you.
Excellent. Simeon, you are a researcher in multiple things, especially crop circles. Can you first explain to the audience exactly what you do, everything that you're involved with, and when it got started?
Oh, okay. Well, do we have about an hour?
Yes, we do.
We have 3 hours.
I'll give you 3 hours.
Before I got involved in these topics of remote viewing and crop circles and UFO research and sort of interdimensional phenomena, I was a statistics teacher, a research method in sociology. Okay. Yeah, and during my graduate training, I came across this concept of fractal geometry. Okay. And fractals are the shapes of natural things like trees and clouds and mountains and, coastlines.
Understood. Okay.
And so fractals were very new in social science. They came out of mathematics. Mathematicians weren't comfortable with them because they describe objects between dimensions. And back then, between dimensions, this was before I really knew about these topics, though I have to say I did have a UFO sighting with my mom at age 11 in the Everglades. So we had seen one of these, and it was right over us. I thought it was the moon originally until my mom pointed out that the moon was on the horizon. And it was sort of amorphous looking and structured. So I couldn't, and it moved into a cloud as soon as we put our binoculars on it. I mean, it went from stationary to moving.
Of course, you can't catch a picture.
Of course. So I had seen these. I had read John Keel's The Mothman Prophecies in high school.
Yes.
14, 15. Sure, and then sometime in college, I'm just telling you, I had a pretty limited contact with this subject matter, even though I'm from the Westchester County, which is Hudson Valley area.
Okay.
I had very limited contact with these topics. I eventually came across Timothy Good's book, Above Top Secret, sometime in college. I think I just saw it in a bookstore.
Okay.
And I don't know, I said, well, I saw a UFO with Mom when I was 11, 15 years ago. Maybe I'll find out what these things are. So that was my contact with the subject matter. Then I went into graduate school sociology. Now, fractals, I just thought that was interesting. Interdimensional objects. For a mathematician, that doesn't mean what it means to you and me and our audience.
Right.
For the most part, it means things that are between flat surfaces and three-dimensional, or between lines and planes. But I thought it was interesting even back then, before I knew about remote viewing or crop circles or anything like this, that there was a mathematical way to look at objects that don't fit into linear reality. That never, you never can, it doesn't matter how much you magnify a fractal, at least a mathematical one, it's always going to have more detail in it. And we're all familiar with the Mandelbrot set. You keep looking closer, you see more.
Right, exactly.
It turns out our universe is a lot like that.
Okay.
Yeah, we've seen these. So here's the deal. I was open after studying fractal geometry and chaos theory that there could be phenomena that hadn't been studied properly by linear research methods, regression analysis and things, which looks for a linear relationship between things. And so when I came across remote viewing in 1996, a little thought came into my mind, maybe this is one of those things that might be described better by fractals than by lines and linear math and Euclidean even shapes. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I started getting open to the fact that there was other reality possibilities, not from a paranormal point of view, guys. From a mathematical point of view, there were people saying that the type of math that you and I learned in high school and college was not sufficient to describe reality. Right. And that's how it began for me.
Okay. Yep. Very interesting.
Wow. Let's hop tracks real quick here. Now, I understand you study Bigfoot as well. So what happens right before a Bigfoot encounter, and why?
So this is what's really interesting to me. Doing our remote viewing, and we can talk about what RV is, connecting to non-local information spontaneously, describing it. So people sometimes, when they're doing remote viewing, say, let's look at something that we don't understand very well to see if we can learn something about it. And crop circles was one of the things that was part of my training back in 1996 at the Farsight Institute, where I learned RV.
Okay.
And we had a couple crop circles, and I didn't know what these were back in 1996. So in 1997, I decided to go over to the UK to see them for myself, just to see if my RV sessions had been accurate. I mean, I just sort of got curious. I didn't know anything about them in 1996, but they were nice to look at, and, we were told they didn't, it wasn't clear how they were made, and I wanted to see it for myself, right?
Okay.
Isn't that what you do as a researcher? You check it out. So I went on a crop circle tour with a guy named Ron Russell, who was giving crop circle tours in 1997. I had met him at a conference, and he had given a presentation saying these are really mysterious, shapes in wheat and other crops, and we don't really know too much about them.
Right.
And the thing that I found out going over there in 97 is they were shorting out cameras and batteries and causing all sorts of electronic mayhem. And some of them were shaped like fractals, the same fractals I had studied for my PhD dissertation.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm thinking, is this like a message from the universe? I mean, you don't normally walk around in a field with a fractal the size of a 300 yards across. There it was, the same ones I had studied in textbooks. It just was sort of interesting. Just from an academic point of view, here they are in a field. Whoever made it, here it is. So that was the really surprising thing to me, is that they short out cameras and batteries. So fast forwarding to Bigfoot.
Yes.
And I have these videos on my YouTube channel. If you go to one of my playlists on my YouTube channel, just look up my name.
Okay.
I have taken videos of people's cameras and batteries failing while we were there. If our cameras were still working, we could video them. You can just see them just stop work. Yeah, so this is sort of a well-established thing. And it doesn't happen in every single crop circle. I would say maybe 5% of them, but that's still a lot. If you go into 40 or 50 of these in a summer and 2 or 3 of them knock out your batteries, that's significant. So fast forwarding to Bigfoot and cryptids, a couple of years ago, I was, driving through Bailey, Colorado, and happened upon the Sasquatch Outpost, which is it's a place run by Jim Myers, who got interested in the topic himself a few years before. And I saw the map that I didn't realize they were so close to Boulder, Colorado, where I live.
Okay.
In some cases, just outside of town. I mean, literally on the other side in the county park, there had been sightings.
Wow.
Real sightings of these cryptids. Yeah, I had no idea it was this frequent, and I started doing more research into it and talking to witnesses in Colorado.
Yeah.
I was so amazed to hear them say, you know what, our cameras and batteries stopped working when we were near the Bigfoot, or we couldn't start the car.
Wow.
Just when you want to sometimes maybe, yeah. And I said, what is going on? And orbs. People reported orbs and luminous phenomena around the Bigfoot.
Yep.
And I thought, but this is what we heard around crop circles. Is there some sort of fundamental cosmic energy or some energy in physics that hasn't been identified yet by mainstream physics?
Right.
That would explain it. Assuming that the orbs around Bigfoot are kind of like the ones we've seen around crop circles, and I've seen them myself around the area, not for not too long, sometimes it's a few seconds, but we've seen them, and then people have taken photographs of them over crop circles. So I started thinking, well, why would you get it around a primate if it's just a undiscovered primate?
Yes.
And going to some conferences about it, this is what I used to believe, that it was some just very rare Gigantopithecus that somehow survived the ice ages and everything and is still here.
Yeah.
Which there's no evidence for, but that's what I believed at the time, and we've all heard that sort of explanation, right? That it's sort of an animal.
Yep.
But talking to the researchers and the witnesses, they said there's no way this could be a primate or an animal. They have language. They speak their own language. They can speak English, a kind of very basic type of English in North America.
Wow.
They can, very intelligent, they seem to be able to project telepathic thoughts into people's minds.
Yep.
And literally vanish in front of their eyes.
Oh, yeah.
Vanish in front of the witness's eyes. I mean, just disappear, teleport, even become a tree or a boulder.
Really? Wow.
And so, yeah, people have reported this, and I've spoken to many witnesses and researchers about these sorts of phenomena. And then you start reading the stories, and it's the same thing over and over again for decade after decade. And the Native Americans talked about this too.
Yeah.
So then you're starting to think, wow, is there just a whole level of reality that I wasn't taught about, that none of us were taught about in school very seriously? It's real, a type of, for lack of a better word, a type of paranormal reality.
Yep.
Right.
And that the witnesses generally don't talk about it unless they're on shows like this one, because there's no one to really, as they said to me, who do you talk to about this?
Right.
Even when the police or the law enforcement are called, they don't have jurisdiction over these entities because they're not people.
Yeah, that is an absolute fact, yes.
Yeah, so so I realized, going back to being a sociologist, that this is underreported. There's bias.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, many things are unreported. That is correct.
Unreported. So that means there could be a whole level of paranormal experiences people are having.
That's right. That's
that we're not hearing about. We're not hearing about.
That's correct. That's why I try to tell people every time, report this stuff. Call into the show. Let people know. There's plenty of people out there that have the same issues, and they just. The simple fact of the matter is they're afraid. They're afraid to be criticized and things like that.
Yep.
It's time to bring stuff
Exactly.
out.
No, right. And I'm starting a Zoom group next week just for people on my mailing list and people I know, just because some of them have had experiences that they find hard to talk about.
Okay, great.
Bigfoot and cryptids. It's hard to describe it. Time slips, rocks getting thrown at your car when you're out there, and a kind of a sense of panic, I would say.
Yeah.
And
anxiety.
So to go to your question exactly, Daniel, I mean,
yes.
What happens before these encounters is, and I'm sure you've heard this and our listeners have heard this as well, there's a sudden quiet and calm that's unnatural.
There is.
Over the area.
Yes,
Yeah.
you're in a moment, so to speak.
Yep.
Yeah, and even the crickets and insects stop chirping, making sounds, and that's strange.
Yeah,
very spooky,
area
very creepy.
Yeah, in chirping season, which is different for different insects. I mean, for crickets, it's later in the summer, right?
Yes.
At least in some areas, like in the Northwest, you don't hear them come out until like August. But to have them all go quiet, I mean, it's not like they're an animal that's being stalked by Bigfoot, so it's not like they are sense fear or something.
It's almost as if things are in slow motion.
Things are in slow motion. Things are different.
Yes. Yep.
So that's what got me really interested in the cryptid Bigfoot area. Having read so many encounters, I'm just interested in the whole thing now. But that's what hooked me into it, is seeing that what happened around Bigfoot Sasquatch encounters is what happens around some UFO encounters, where you get that change in sense of time.
That's right.
And
that's correct.
Maybe your electronics short out. Maybe the headlights start dimming on the car or the radio.
Like EMP, something.
Yeah, it's something to do with the energy
EMP,
field.
But it's more than that, guys. It's that's the way you and I describe it from our knowledge.
Right.
You go into the physics of it. There's a lot of physics behind why this happens, and it's part of classified research.
That's correct, yes.
As I've discovered.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, so this is why I think there's a link between these topics. And I have to say one more thing before I pause there, and you can ask more questions.
Okay.
That's
even Uri Geller at SRI, working with Hal Puthoff and Russell Targ. He was the first remote viewing subject before Ingo Swann and Pat Price and others that some listeners may be familiar with.
Okay.
Ingo Swann being the person that created the CRV protocols, the written protocols that I learned how to do in RV.
Yes.
Before him, they had Uri come over for 6 weeks. They stopped it because the government was concerned. He wasn't a U.S. citizen, security and so forth. But people around Uri reported these phenomena too. They reported cryptids in their homes, just like we heard from skinwalkers at the Pentagon type stuff, right? The hitchhiker effect.
Yeah, and some people, I think, actually reported like UFOs and like possible saw Bigfoot go right into the UFO.
Oh, yes, indeed.
Did someone report a Bigfoot at the same time at that area?
Yes.
That is correct.
When Uri Geller was at Lawrence Livermore Lab and SRI and all those test places, there was a Bigfoot reported too? I mean, I hadn't heard that. Kind of interesting.
Yeah, that's correct.
Not surprising. Is that what you're telling me? Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So I came across this in Jim Schnabel's book, Remote Viewers, and he talked about A-ports, which were these objects that showed up around when Uri was there, and it was things that people had been missing for months.
Right.
I mean, months before he got there, right?
No, that's correct.
And they would fall out of the sky. They found one of Russell Targ's lapel pins in an ice cream that they bought on the beach.
That is true. It was very.
So you guys know about this?
Yes, absolutely.
So my point of view on this, and it's just my point of view. I'm not saying there aren't other ways to look at this.
Right, absolutely.
The scientist in me wants to simplify things a little bit here, and saying that we're dealing with some overlapping phenomena. It's not. That's how Bigfoot can connect into RV and crop circles, is you get some of the same, should we say side effects? I don't know if that's what they are. Maybe they're main effects. But you get some of these strange, spooky effects on electronics, cryptids showing up inside your home, A-ports, and as you said, Jennifer, small UFOs were seen, I think, around one of the researchers in the lab.
Yep.
So To me, that suggests overlap of realities, parallel realities, bleed through. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you have another explanation. I'm open to it, but it suggests that there is sort of a thinning of the normal constants of reality that we're used to, the basic constants of physics. Maybe those are variables around these phenomena, and this is why it gets suddenly quiet around Bigfoot. It's a shift in the structure of space-time.
It really is.
We can go into more exactly what it is. I think I know now, having looked at a lot of the research in condensed matter physics. I've been reading Science magazine ever since being in graduate school, by the way, 30 years.
Oh,
right,
yeah.
Right.
There's a lot of this in Science magazine now.
Okay.
So, metamaterials, condensed matter physics, coherent matter. So this is how I ended up looking at Bigfoot cryptids, because it's not just Bigfoot, by the way. People say this happens around dogmen, that they notice their electronics.
Oh, yes, multiple cryptids. That's correct.
Yep.
Multiple cryptids. So what we're dealing with is an entirely alternative structure of reality. I'm not overstating this. It's an alternative structure of reality, and we have not been taught about it. And when people encounter this, whether it's me going to a remote viewing class in 1996, someone going to crop circles and seeing their camera stop working, or people seeing a cryptid come out in front of their vehicle wanting to go away and the car stalls, or the electronics stop working, or their cell phone stops working and they get brain fog.
Right, very strange.
So these are overrelated. You could argue against it, say, Simeon, is this different phenomena. Okay, but then you have to show me the evidence why it's different.
Right, exactly. That's the source.
Yep. So, how and why does Bigfoot, become invisible and disappear right after we see them? Are they coming from a portal? Do you know?
Oh, yes.
It's a really good question, Jennifer. I think it has to be something like that. Again, if anyone has more evidence about this, it doesn't look like our government's talking very much about it.
No. And I don't think they will
research ourselves.
Right, and then they have talked about
we know they study it.
Yeah, they have talked about how, you see these trees down and stuff in, different shapes and stuff, and they think that that's inside those trees because there's a lot of energy coming from that could possibly be a portal opening.
Right, and trees, again, are based on fractal geometry, branching structures. They're fractured, they keep branching and branching, and it seems that those fractal environments sort of encourage the Bigfoot activity. And there are people that, like you're saying, believe this. Ron Moorhead, who recorded the Sierra sounds.
Oh, yeah.
He's talked about their relationship to trees, and he said, I think in one interview with him, I was talking with him, he said he was within 15 feet of where the Bigfoot sounds were coming from.
Wow.
And he and this other guy were getting very close, and they could not get closer than 15 feet. It was like a force field.
Wow.
Now,
and it was a tree. It was a tree.
Now, do you know if anyone has actually gotten, right up personal and close with a Bigfoot?
I don't think there has been.
Well, yes.
Oh.
Because I know people that have been pulled out of their tents.
Oh,
really? Physically pulled out of their tents?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and it was like they said it was like a rocket speed.
Oh,
so this is not a human doing this. They were really terrified, but it just took them 2 decades to tell me about this, because it's so, you're camping by yourself. I've done it many times. And,
that is spine chilling.
to have the tent unzipped in the middle of a campground where there's no one around, you haven't heard any cars, nothing, and just to have something pull you out, but with force.
Right.
I mean, real force. I mean, they're not doing anything. They're just pulling you all across the ground. And you can't get out because the G-forces are pulling you to the boot of the bag.
I can imagine. Like being in a jet.
Yeah, so what happened to them when he pulled them out?
Well, this particular guy said he started screaming after about 30 feet.
Which I would do.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Daniel. It's like the acceleration makes it impossible to move towards the opening in the bag because you're scrunched against the bottom.
Yes.
And he said that he started yelling, and whatever it was dropped him.
Really?
Okay?
Also, like spooked him.
And when he stuck his head out, there was no one there.
Ah.
Wow.
Wow.
So-
Like he disappeared.
So he went
So-
right through a portal, perhaps.
Maybe, yeah.
It seemed, or they disappeared. I mean,
just...
I've read other cases of people getting picked up in their sleeping bag, people that were not in tents, sleeping around a campfire with friends, and a Sasquatch will come and pick them up off the ground. Now, this particular description, they said the amazing thing about it was there was no up and down motion and no sound of feet hitting leaves.
Wow.
It was silent, like you were gliding on a jet across the ground.
Like some sort of stealth movement.
That's crazy.
Stealth movement. And the guy said the only time that he felt anything was when the creature jumped over a small ravine, which he saw when he was put down later. He saw where the ravine was. The creature jumped, and all of a sudden his neck, he got whiplash.
Wow.
But he said until that moment, it was flat gliding.
That's
That is
crazy.
amazing.
So I just have,
It's really something. We're not talking about ordinary physics here, guys. Because
No.
if I
No.
pick you up in your sleeping bag, I'm going to be going up and down, and
Yep.
Yes,
heavy.
you know,
And this thing, he said, it was floating across the forest. He couldn't believe it. It was only that, he started saying, hey, and his girlfriend heard him, and the thing put him down. It's not like they always want to. I don't think we should assume negative intention here, though. I mean, that's a reasonable discussion.
Right, it's
It just seems
50-50,
sometimes
really.
They're curious.
Curious, yeah.
Yeah, they're picking you up. Maybe they're just kind of curious what you're doing out there. I mean, they may just be having fun in their own way.
Yes, because we don't understand.
Yeah.
We don't understand. Yeah, we don't understand.
And now,
So
it-
there are cases. I just want to say, Jennifer, there are cases of them getting close. And Ron Moorhead, though, said he could never see them, even though you know about the Sierra Sounds and him being up in the Sierra Nevadas with his hunting buddies.
Yep.
He said they could never see shadows from them, even when they were outside their lean-to structure. There were no shadows. There should have been shadows cast on the structure where there were cracks between the trees that they had put, wired together to create this. There were no shadows. So they do seem to. I mean, you ask Ron if you ever know. He said he got a glimpse of one in 9 visits up there. He caught a glimpse of one barely once in the far distance.
Right.
So they seem. I'm going with that they have the ability to be invisible. I think they can do so many things, and the reason we don't talk about this as a society, it's so far beyond ordinary reality, it's hard to believe it's true, but it is.
Right. I mean, then that's exactly how it comes with the spiritual aspects, where people are able to channel, and they're able to, go beyond our reality into the spiritual reality. They don't talk about it that much neither, because, people just don't hear about it every day, type thing. So I see exactly where you're coming from on that one.
Right. And it's another type of reality. I mean, this book that I wrote recently I called Dark Matter Monsters.
Yeah, and I was going to ask you about that.
People can find it on Amazon, and I have a website, too, to send people signed copies if they want. Now, the reason I called it Dark Matter is because we're surrounded by invisible matter all the time. And physicists, astrophysicists call it dark matter. Now, it outnumbers visible matter by 10 to 1. 10 to 1 particles. And it's not just out there far away in the cosmos. It's around Earth. You won't see it. That's why it's called dark matter.
Is it like an energy source?
Is it like what?
Is it kind of like an energy source?
Yes. It can't be detected directly electromagnetically with typical electromagnetic measuring devices that we have, right? Electrically or magnetically.
Right.
It's detectable gravitationally.
Okay.
And some types, it has gravitation. It's lensed by the sun, the moon, and other galaxies as it flows to us from the one source's cosmic background, radiation from the Big Bang, and so forth. It's detectable from very sensitive devices that can detect gravitational changes.
Right.
And from looking those over the seasons, over the years, over days, you can see fluctuations that correspond to the Earth's position vis-a-vis the Milky Way, not day and night vis-a-vis the Milky Way,
Okay.
which shows that it's not coming from the sun, right? So some of these are called relic neutrinos. They're relics from the Big Bang. They're big enough and slow enough to interact with you and me, and biological life, and even radioactive processes. They can speed up or slow down metabolic processes. So to answer your question, Jennifer, they can interact with us energetically because there's so many of them, like about 10 million per second going through your body.
Right, yeah.
Not as many as coming from the sun, but they're bigger than the ones from the sun, so they actually interact with us. The ones from the sun are too small to interact with us and go right through our bodies, believe it or not. Literally, we're invisible to solar neutrinos. We're invisible. They're so small. But these are bigger, and they interact with us gravitationally. And so I called it dark matter monsters because there's evidence that this type of dark matter can create exotic physics effects.
Okay.
Right?
Yep.
It can
was
create
my next
exotic states of matter. Yeah, no, go ahead with this. It creates exotic states of matter, and even can create things that seem to be under the label we call paranormal. And so I think that these cryptids are somehow interacting with dark matter in ways that we're not conscious that we're doing. And one more thing before we go to the next question.
That's fine.
I wrote a short abstract about this in 2013 about why crop circles may do what they do. And my idea back then was maybe crop circles are lensing or focusing dark energy, dark matter. And I put it on that site called Research. Right, because I was wondering, how could something like wheat, which is pretty inert, it's an insulator, right?
Yeah.
You don't normally go into wheat fields. Like when you take your bread out of the freezer, you don't normally see it being electrically active.
No.
So it's pretty inert, it's insulating, it doesn't conduct too much electricity when you spread your butter or whatever you put on your bread in the morning, peanut butter or whatever. So, but in wheat field with a crop circle, it does become electrically active. So I was thinking, you just got to put yourself in my position. What energy is out here in a field? There's static energy. That could be one source.
Yeah.
But we're talking about things that could blow out batteries.
So would that be stealth?
So I thought, what's that?
Couldn't stealth energy do that?
Yeah, I said there's some energy here that you can't see, but it's getting focused in the crop circle, and it's enough to melt solder joints as I've seen in a Sony camcorder.
Like cloaking in a way.
Cloaking.
Yeah.
Right, and that dark matter is cloaked. You don't see it. So I thought maybe the spiral shape of the circle is lensing dark energy, dark matter, and I started doing research, and I found out, surprise, dark energy and dark matter are on Earth. They're not just something for cosmologists way out there. There's some of it here.
Okay.
And if you were able to focus it, you now have these exotic matter, which is now amplified.
That's correct.
And this is what the Soviet researchers in relic neutrinos came to the same conclusion, not about crop circles, that it could be focused or lensed. So I have to give myself a little credit there of somehow intuitively sensing something that was along the right idea here. So to sum it up, I think that it wouldn't be surprising if there are life forms on Earth that are tapping into this type of energy that's coming in unlimited amounts from the cosmos.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Well, you've all heard of these. You've heard of these cellular organisms that live in volcano vents or undersea in those thermal vents in the ocean.
That's correct.
Well,
that's correct.
Life shows up everywhere there's energy.
That is correct.
So if there's any amount of dark energy, dark matter, and it's getting focused somehow
and
on Earth,
the thing is,
why wouldn't there be life that taps into it?
Right, exactly. And the thing is, there's so much dark energy and dark matter around us. It's basically everywhere.
Makes us wonder if we're kind of made of it.
We are made of it, and it interacts with us. And if you've ever seen anyone do PK, psychokinesis, I've seen demonstrations of it.
Yes.
Uri Geller could do it with spoons, but other people could do it. They're not as well known. They don't want to be better known, but I've seen demonstrations in Japan, for example, where they could just twist Coke bottles into look like a liquid and then solid again.
Very, very strange.
Wow.
That is the same energy as dark matter. It's
there you
just
go.
being emitted by your body.
Okay.
And the cold fusion researchers, cold fusion low energy nuclear reaction, we're only familiar with it in this country, in the U.S., since Fleischmann and Pons and their infamous experiment of 1989, which I'm convinced was absolutely real, but was really criticized by the scientists.
Oh, yes, it was.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right, but researchers have concluded that there's a dark matter component to that type of atomic transmutation reaction, but at a very microscopic scale. And so it seems that people that are able to do PK are emitting the same type of energy. So, Jennifer, it is the same sort of thing. Now, one real little point here, which is really important. Even these relic neutrinos, which are just let's be very clear about this, it's a small part of dark matter, like 1% or something like that. Really small.
Yeah.
We're not saying we understand what dark matter is. Physicists and scientists listening to the show would start criticizing me, saying, hello, wait a second, we don't know what dark matter is. That's true.
Yeah.
But there's an increasing consensus that about at least 1% of it, maybe a little less, maybe a little more, is this relic neutrino, invisible relic neutrinos that are fluxing throughout the cosmos and are attracted to other gravitationally significant objects like Earth or the moon or the sun, right?
Yep.
Even the relic neutrinos, there's more of them in the universe than all the matter you can see. So, Daniel, you're absolutely correct. It's a lot. It's more than you can see of all the other type of matter.
Oh, yes.
It's just 1% of dark matter is more than all the other matter. So, this research, which comes out of the previous Soviet Union, now Russia, Japan, other places, shows us that this is a biologically active type of energy, and if it can be focused or lensed like it is in cold fusion, low energy nuclear reactions, you can create all sorts of exotic states of matter, miniature black holes, gravitational changes, and there's patents from defense contractors in this, by the way. If anyone thinks what we're talking about is woo-woo, just check out the Lockheed Martin patent from 2021.
That's correct.
In coherent matter waves. Yeah, I don't know if you're familiar with it. I mentioned it in Dark Matter Monsters, but I mean, I put that in there because people might say, oh, Simeon, this is starting to sound like quantum woo. Well, yeah, but also defense contractors are taking it pretty seriously for weaponization.
Right.
Okay? So they know that you can organize matter like this and project it into a distance with non-ordinary physics. And if they can get patents in it, if the patent office says it's real, I'm saying it's real too. Yeah. So I'm just agreeing with the patent officer. And did you guys see those articles recently from Northrop Grumman about shadow life on Earth? Yes,
I saw that.
Shadow figures?
Right. So they're talking about microbes and things like that, but still, they're starting to get into the game, realizing there's just non-ordinary life forms around, non-ordinary from our point of view.
Yeah.
And so this is how it all kind of connects. I know this is a really stretch, and people are saying, how could you connect Bigfoot to crop circles? Because you get the same sort of underlying phenomena around them, which shows that a lot of energy is flowing there that you can't see. And that's the important point about it. And Ken Shoulders is another researcher we should mention here. Ken Shoulders worked with Al Puthoff at SRI. Ken Shoulders worked for the NSA in microelectronics back in the 60s and 70s. He created fundamentals of circuit boards that we now use in our integrated circuits.
Okay.
I've been reading his articles that are not very well known, but fortunately been publicized by Bob Greenyer and Martin Fleischmann Memorial Project on their YouTube channel.
Yeah.
And you can download them from MFMP. They're a nonprofit. And I looked at this, and boy, what he says in there sounds just like our conversation here. He says you create these shadow realms of life from charge clusters. From clusters of charges. He called them exotic vacuum objects, right? And he said they were in their own cocoon of space-time. What does that sound like? You know,
Really?
He said you might not even be able to see them or detect them with ordinary equipment, but they would still have effects on your environment.
My goodness.
Even though they're not
more
easy to-
and more.
because they're like like a black. If we're the white realm of visibility, they're in the invisible dark realm. And then he even says it's a lot like this dark matter that we keep hearing about. Maybe it's the same thing. He literally says it. Maybe that these dark plasmas, which John Ramirez talked about, former CIA signals intelligence analyst.
Yeah.
Yep.
You heard John Ramirez on different podcasts over the past year.
Oh,
He
yes.
said he could
Plenty of
had
times.
permission to, right.
Yep.
Yeah, so he was talking about dark plasmas that they saw from satellites. And, stealth. Right, Jennifer, you used that word stealth. He said stealth plasmas. That's what you were saying. That's what Ken Shoulder said, too, but at a microscopic scale. So all I'm suggesting here, and people are free to disagree with me, you're free to disagree with me, I see a lot of connections here. I'm seeing a lot of connections to our favorite topics from formerly classified exotic physics.
Right,
I'm starting to notice connections everywhere with everything, almost like Legos. They connect very well.
Yep. So I just had a theory here.
Yeah.
Just an idea. Now, okay, so Bigfoot and cryptids are normally seen a lot of times either before a UFO or after a UFO or even during a UFO. All right. Is it possible that they are part of an ET race? And I wonder if anyone who has been abducted has actually been able to get closer to them than we have.
No, those are really good questions. So this is really curious and interesting, isn't it, folks? Around UFO sightings that we associate with advanced technology, you also have Bigfoot, which we sometimes associate with something, I don't know, maybe incorrectly more older or primitive relic, right?
Yeah.
To the earth, some ancient. But it's because it's not a relic primate. It's some evolved being like we are. And they may be closer to the UFO ET frequencies than humans.
I agree. I agree because they're like extremely smart.
They have some connection to UFO frequencies again because I think coherent matter is involved here. To the extent that these UFO ET craft materials are based on shifting space-time,
right,
to change some of the fundamental concepts of physics, speed up the speed of light from their point of view and so forth.
Yeah,
the blue shifting phenomena, right? Well, to the extent that cryptids can do that too by tapping into the zero-point field through whatever means they have, if it's capturing these relic neutrinos, if it's because they just are creating a lot of charges from having a lot of hair on their bodies, much more hair than we have, or cavitation, whatever mechanism they're using to generate charge clusters, which I think they are if they're capable of emitting balls of light from their hands.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
They have some similarity to the UFO technology and maybe interact with them in ways that we don't, which would seem, a lot of us say that we want more interaction like that. We know people who want that interaction today. They wanted it yesterday, right? They wanted to go on a craft and ride around. But Jennifer, you're right. People report seeing these beings on the craft when they're on there. They see Bigfoot on there too. Now here's a question, and I don't have the answer. Is it because the extraterrestrials are studying them too, like they study us?
That is a curious question.
Are they studying life forms on Earth, and Bigfoot are one of those life forms? Or why do people see these Bigfoot during waves of UFOs like Stan Gordon wrote about in Silent Invasion in Pennsylvania in the 70s?
Yes.
Which is a freaking fascinating book that I bought from Stan at a conference years ago, guys, and I just started reading it because it makes sense to me now in a way that I couldn't quite process before. I mean, my mind.
Yes, it's a book that you have to read a few times. I can give you that.
Yeah.
Okay. yeah, you read it. The first time I looked at it, I was like, I can't quite make sense. Why would Bigfoot show up next to craft that
Yes.
landed in a farmer's field in Pennsylvania?
It seems
But
so
now
opposite.
that I know
yeah.
a little, it seems what?
It seems so opposite, UFOs and cryptids.
It does.
They seem
It
different,
doesn't until you understand the physics behind it, and they're on the same sort of frequency and wavelength in a
Yes.
sense.
Mm-hmm.
Let me put it this way, guys. Let's look at it this way. If you go to a play and you go and sit in the theater and the curtain goes back,
Yeah.
and let's say it's a play about science fiction or something,
Okay.
you're not surprised to see different characters show up on the stage because you know it's a play. You know it's fictional, right?
Yep.
But let's say reality is sort of like that. When you pull back the curtain of our particular reality and you see into other parallel realities,
Yep.
when you pull the curtain back, you might actually be seeing more than you expected.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
yeah. You're
yes.
like overwhelmed.
Yeah, you're overwhelmed. We were talking about this, Jennifer, before the show. We were having a conversation about this topic.
Yeah.
You're seeing more than you expected, and you don't know quite what you're looking at. And
Right.
so it's a little bit to me like going to a play and seeing more than you expected as a kid, or a movie, or the zoo.
Mm-hmm.
You might see things that are surprising. So that's how I see the connection in a sense.
It's more information than you expected, that's for sure.
There's more information than you expected because we have been the ones who have been sheltered from reality for
That's
a long
correct.
time. In other words, we're the ones with limited perception.
Mm-hmm.
And if something shows up that shows you more, you're seeing a lot more at the same time, which includes all the creatures and beings that inhabit that particular reality.
Yes.
Right.
And if it takes the energy of a craft to sort of disrupt your ordinary perception of reality, it's like turning on the light in a room that you never went into before. You might see things in there that you didn't know you had in your house.
Yeah.
Right,
And
right.
this could include cryptids, too. So my feeling is they're all part of these parallel realities, and our reality is one track amongst many tracks.
Mm-hmm.
So if you happen to get a viewpoint, like you do when you're doing remote viewing, where you're sort of looking down on a scene or an area,
Yeah.
you
Kind of
might
like
see
astral
more than you
projection.
expected. What was that?
Kind of like astral projecting.
Right. You might see more than you thought you would see. And is that really surprising? I mean, throughout all our lives, any person, you're always going to encounter more than you thought you were going to encounter.
Exactly. I think it's going to be more
every
surprising.
subject, everything.
Yeah.
It's more there than you thought. And so it's, Daniel, because I've had people ask me exactly what you just asked me.
Yes.
Why would you get something like advanced technology next to something that seems primitive? But that is because of our bias that we see something that's hair covered as less evolved than us.
Yes,
we have
that
a
is
bias
true.
as humans that hairier things are animals and animals are lesser.
And that
Yeah.
they have no
leads to a
intelligence,
bias.
perhaps, or no idea about technology that we see in UFOs or UAPs and things like
They're
that.
actually really intelligent.
Right.
All the animals are.
It could be more intelligent than we
And-
are.
and-
We
Yeah.
don't know.
They could, well, people around Bigfoot think that I've heard them say, I have friends who've encountered them, okay?
Yes,
Uh-huh.
yes.
Yeah.
Who've encountered around their summer vacation homes
Okay.
in the West. And they said it's like they're one step ahead of you every second. They seem to anticipate what you're going to do. They move behind a tree. That's the feeling that this particular woman who I know told me. She said it's like a game, and they know what all the moves are ahead of time,
Ah.
and you don't.
Okay.
That's the feeling. Now, that doesn't
That's a
sound
good
like
way to
something that's
explain
primitive
it. That
to
really
me.
is.
Now.
It's like they know how humans think and what
Yeah.
we're going to do. And you often hear this of people out in the woods who are in their hunting stand or something, and they say they weren't making a sound. They were just there, and the thing turned and looked at them like it knew they were there.
Yeah.
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 And so from a far away, those eyes look over, and the look in those eyes can be devastating. if you're not in the right mindset, you get this feeling like they totally know you inside out.
Yeah.
And they can have this kind of ironic smile.
Mm-hmm.
Like they know that you know that they know.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
So
it's really uncomfortable for people just because what you're saying, Daniel, and what these types of things that people assume it's an escaped gorilla.
Yeah, right.
It's not an escaped. It used to be referred to that way. If you look in the literature 80 years ago in the newspaper, and David Pilates has done a lot of presentations about the recent on his YouTube channel, and he goes into historical newspaper articles. They refer to them as wild men. So
That's
you hear
correct.
them wild men or escaped gorillas. I've seen this. Witnesses assumed it was an escaped circus animal or something. And when we do that, it sort of suggests that we're superior and that it's an animal. But if it's something that co-evolved with us on the planet, I mean, it may have more street smarts than we do. I mean, they don't need clothing or houses or vehicles to move around and do what they do, and we do. So in some sense, we're dumbed down compared to them. I mean, we're in these bureaucratic systems. We play by the game. We have jobs, and we have to follow the law, right? And rules.
Right.
They have their own law and their own rules, and they survive out there. And going back to your question, Jennifer, I didn't totally answer it. When they're in our world, it seems they really are in our world and do physical things, but they seem to be able to move to another frequency. I mean, just think like a musical instrument. Like we're an instrument that's like one note, and they're a creature that can do multiple notes. And when they're on another note, you're not really perceiving them directly. They're in their own reality on Earth. It's another place here that we don't consciously go to. That's what I think could be happening, and I think they really do shift. Because people do see them disappear in front of them, and I don't think it's just cloaking. I mean, you could argue maybe it's like just like military type cloaking, like they're invisible, like Predator, the movie.
Exactly,
like
Simeon. Simeon, we're up against a break. I want to continue to talk about this when we come back in hour 2. So this is very, very interesting, folks. We are with Dr. Simeon Hein. And we're talking about cryptids, Bigfoots, UFOs, possibly alien abductions, crop circles, and dark matter, which we've spoken about plenty of times. We'll see what Dr. Simeon Hein still has to say. We'll be right back on Night Talks Radio live Saturday night. Hey everybody, Daniel Brewer from Night Talks Radio and NTR Daily. Hey, if you're looking for safe, natural, and amazing products for both you and your loved ones, Valhalla Beard and Body is the store for you. So the owner, Timothy McMahon, takes absolute pride in everything that he does and makes. Suffering from skin problems, Timothy found himself spending way too much money on products that simply didn't work. So just out of the blue, he made up his mind to try and make his own products. So this is where the magic began. Valhalla Beard and Body has several different bars of soaps, scents, wax melts, beard care products, and soap savers. Everything is homemade and made from bees rescued from the state of Arizona. This absolutely unique conservative store also has bundles, kits, and soon to come shampoo products. So if you're tired of wasting your money on far-left companies that don't care about you whatsoever, head on over to ValhallaBeardandBody.net and check out some of the natural products. I think the secret ingredient is leftist tears. That will leave you smelling good, looking great, and enjoying soft skin results. Oh, and don't forget to click on the code NTR10 for 10% off your order. Again, that's NTR10 for 10% off. The offer does not apply to custom soap loaves. So, if you love America and you're patriotic and, of course, on the right side, hop on the internet and check out ValhallaBeardandBody.net or call Timothy McMahon directly at 602-622-1126. That's 602-622-1126. And start enjoying handcrafted soaps, beard balms, beard oils, and much, much more. Valhalla Beard and Body is located in Gilbert, Arizona. For the love of your country, check them out today.
something inside that we need so much. The sight of a touch, or the scent of a sound, or the strength of an oak with roots deep in the ground. The wonder of flowers to be covered and then to burst up through tarmac to the sun again, or to fly to the sun without burning a wing, to lie in a meadow and hear the grass sing, to have all these things in our memories, and to use them to help us to find.
Streaming to you live from Spreaker.com and somewhere deep in the great upper Midwest. If you're ready for a ride, you can call NTR anytime by dialing the nationwide caller line at 1-507-384-9390. First-time callers can reach Night Talks Radio at 1-507-307-4424. Text Daniel and NTR exclusively at 1-218-689-7126. Now, from somewhere in the great upper Midwest, here's your hosts, Daniel Brewer and Jennifer Gregerson.
Welcome back, everybody. Night Talks Radio, Saturday Night Live, right here on Spreaker and most popular streaming websites, and of course on select terrestrial markets. Jennifer, we're talking to Dr. Simeon Hein. What do you think about it so far? Kind of interesting, intriguing, no?
You know, it's very interesting. I didn't think anything about the dark matter concept, but I guess it does make sense, because there is a lot of bizarre things that happen around crop circles and around Bigfoot sightings and decrypted sightings as well,
Well, the thing is, just like Simeon said, is that there's so much that we don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
There's just multiple things, from the government, politics to cryptids and UFOs and things like that.
Oh, yeah.
We don't know exactly how intertwined that they may actually be. Dr. Simeon Hein, are you still there, my friend?
Hey, Daniel. Nice to be back with you.
Okay. We are opening up the call lines if you have any questions for Dr. Simeon Hein. And Jennifer, I believe you have a question to kick things off.
Yes, I actually did have a couple of them. Now, you talk about how the crop circles could be something to do with the dark matter and things like that. But do you think that they are also messages of the future events?
I'm not sure if they're directly messages. It might be a type of communication.
Okay.
But I'm not sure if it's meant to be like a literal message. I'm saying that from a remote viewer's point of view.
Okay.
Our viewers learn that what shows up in our mind during a session isn't always literally what's going on at the target.
Right.
So it's a question of learning to interpret what's coming for anyone who's done RV out there, or any of you, or any of our listeners. So it's partly like learning how to separate signal from noise. And it might not always be as direct. What I'm trying to say is our conscious mind wants things to be like a direct message, like the way we're talking right now. But
exactly.
It's not that things are always quite like that. And as we said before when we were talking, they could express mathematical ratios and proportions and shapes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And certainly, for me, they showed me something important about fractals, because there were fractal shapes, and it reinforced the idea to me that fractals are somehow fundamental to how space-time is built, structure of space-time.
Yeah, that could be.
Seems to be true based on what we've learned from low-energy nuclear reaction experiments, that toroids and fractal shapes seem to matter. So I think that they do express information. Let me put it that way.
Well, why is all the crop circles normally, from what I understand and from what I've heard, normally in fields? I mean, why isn't it just like in dirt? Why can't you find it in the gravel pits, or why can't you find it on the beach, or
like sand, perhaps, or something?
Yeah, or even your backyard.
It just seems to be in the crops.
Yeah,
why
is that?
That might be the best way to observe, though.
Well, there's multiple sources for crop circles. I mean, and even in Black Swan Ghosts, my previous book, I did mention witnesses who had seen UFOs flatten meadow plants, flat as a pancake. I mean,
Really?
just absolutely flat.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. And this person had saw it with their own eyes, and the military came up from Spokane and cordoned the area off. And they were really pissed off, these witnesses, because they were picking huckleberries, and now they couldn't get, even the next day, they couldn't go back. And this woman told me, Louise Voves, she said, a friend of theirs said even a week later you couldn't get in there to pick huckleberries.
Well, people have seen orbs flying directly above crop circles, and they make crop circles instantaneously.
Yeah.
So there's just multiple sources. Now, there are people who make them, too. I've been out with the human circle makers, and I've made some myself to test it. And I wrote about that in Opening Minds, which was my first book, just saying it. I mentioned this, and I mentioned that I had seen the human circle makers that take me out at night to show me how they
to make
did
that clear to the audience, humans can do that. They can replicate that.
Oh, yeah.
And
the big ones.
Yeah, not to 100%, I would say, but maybe
there's got to be some kind of a flaw there.
Yeah, it's not as perfect, but they can replicate it.
Yeah, but I mean, it probably doesn't look the same.
And so the surprising thing was even the man-made ones created anomalous energy that we were able to measure, and we could see it affect our devices. And I had pictures of that on my cropcirclescience.com page, where we showed from pictures we took of ones we made, really small ones. We weren't trying to fool anyone. We just wanted to go out and push the wheat down and see what happened. We got distortions in our camera, which, again, led me to the idea that there was something about the shape after the circle is there that creates an energetic shift in the area. So there are multiple sources. If you go back in history, there's just different people see UFOs making them. They're seen around luminous phenomena. They're associated with aerial plasmas. Even the cold fusion researcher Takeaki Matsumoto from Japan writes in his book, Steps to the Discovery of Electronuclear Collapse, that he saw crop circles after thunderstorms in Hokkaido, Sapporo. So, and he attributed that to plasmas and, the energetic effect of the thunderstorm and so forth, charge clusters. So I think people have oversimplified the circles. But the main thing is even the human circle makers told me that they would see very strange things out at night over their circles. In some cases, it was enough to scare them out of the field. Other times, it was just really strange, like small triangles flying over their formations as they were making them. And this was before drones existed.
Pyramid shaped.
You could buy pyramid-shaped little objects flying over. I think they described them as triangular. Over the center, over their circle as they're making them at night. And other cases, they saw orbs.
Wow.
Attracted to multiple orange orbs coming over the fields that they would initially think those are headlights from cars until they're coming over the wheat field.
Yes,
towards you.
Above you. Wow.
So I'm just saying it's more complex than we thought, Jennifer, and it doesn't mean that there isn't some really interesting effects there and things that we can learn. It's just that people made some of them are associated with flying discs. Tully saucer nests from Australia were associated with flying discs. But the more modern ones in the UK were also associated with people. But we learned something from all those types of formations. To me, they're all real because they have real effects. So.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So when a farmer maybe comes across a crop circle, do they just let that be, or do they go ahead and they cultivate their land down again and they replant and everything like that? And if they do that, does their equipment still work around that area?
Oh, that's interesting.
That's an interesting case. So farmers have different responses to this. Some of them are okay with it. We've worked with some farmers and made circles in their fields with their permission, sometimes even with their help,
right?
Because they're curious. But in other cases, farmers don't like it. It's their livelihood. They don't want anyone going in these fields that they lease. In the UK, they're leased from the Crown. They're not owned for the most part. Yeah. So it's like they feel like someone's coming into their space, and so some of them will charge admission. They put up collection boxes.
Oh yes, of course.
Some of them will cut them down immediately. That there are cases, you can see this, where the farm vehicle stalled, allegedly, while there were balls of light or strange objects over the crop circles.
Wow.
There was a video of that from a circle at Milk Hill from the early 90s, taken by Steve Alexander, where the
Yes, I believe I saw that.
saw,
Yes.
Yeah. This is fascinating. I mean, you can see this object that Steve was able to film for a while, and after a while, it's just going straight up. It's like circling around.
Yeah.
It's really strange. We're talking early 90s before drones, so this is hard to say.
Correct.
The tractor driver said it went over his tractor, and then different accounts I've read, some people said he was just so surprised that his foot slipped off the gas pedal.
Right.
Or maybe some people said the tractor engine sort of hiccuped a little bit. Who knows? It's a diesel tractor, but there are different reactions from the farmers, and it just depends on each farmer. And it's a good question. I've gone back to some of them the next season after they were harvested. And I didn't get any anomalous energy on my static meter after the crop was gone.
They didn't have any problem with the new crop coming back up or anything like that? Like it wasn't...
No.
It came up as normal. Kind of on that same track, is it possible that, our minds, our brains are maybe manifesting cryptids?
That is one perspective. I think if our minds are manifesting cryptids, then they're also manifesting moose and deer and bear. You can't. I don't think you can have it both ways. If you think that these are manifestations of the human mind, and I know people who believe that or who did believe it,
right?
But then you have to say that's true when you see a bunny rabbit too.
Right.
Your mind is manifesting it. I mean, to the same extent that you think that ordinary mammals are real and animals and insects and so forth and fish, the cryptids are as real as those. They just simply don't fit in our ordinary sense of reality in the same way. So I think it's tempting to want to psychologize it a bit, if you know what I mean.
Yes, that's exactly my point.
Yeah, it's easy to say that things are mental projection, but I think that's an escape from reality.
Yeah.
It's an escape from reality because when you encounter one of these creatures, it's not always something that is going to be easy to handle, and you might have PTSD.
It's not like coming across the butterfly, I suppose.
Right. Listen, these cryptids can be extremely helpful to people who've been injured. We have to be honest. They've rescued people.
There are stories out there about that.
People. Exactly. Have you read these and talked to people? And
yeah. So
they can be extremely helpful when people are injured.
Yeah. So it's like they have a lot of compassion, and they know when a person is injured that that's when they feel safe to go forward to the person because they can help them.
Right.
It's like they want to help us more than scare us.
That's true.
They do. They seem to have the same innate tendency that most humans have to help. Mm-hmm. Not every human has that. I think we know some that don't.
Yeah.
Right. But on the world stage, even right now.
Yeah.
But the cryptids seem to be helpful too at other times, and that's why it's such a baffling subject to me. Don't you think?
Right.
It's very strange. They can rescue hikers who've broken limbs and need help, and they feed them. They can bring berries, and they make some sort of basic elemental pancake, which apparently is not too bad tasting either. And they fend off bear and cougar while you're healing. Yeah, people have described this, and they even have brought people back down trails to cabins if they've been injured in a remote area. At other times, though, they seem to be excessively hostile, or at least give that impression of being hostile. The charging, the howling, the feeling of the witnesses of that they're about to really suffer some serious injury. That's at least the feeling they get.
Yeah, that's the scary part of it.
Total petrifying. The scary part,
Is it possible?
It can be like this. People say it's beyond fear.
Yeah.
I've never experienced it. It's beyond ordinary terror.
Right.
It's like something really like in your gut you don't feel you're going to be alive in a little while.
It's like the ultimate night terror.
That's why some people describe it that way. And So you have both sides. I think in that movie, A Flash of Beauty, Bigfoot Revealed,
Yes.
which is a good documentary that people should watch.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there is someone who says, they ask, and I agree with her answer. She said the range of behaviors from Bigfoot, Sasquatch, it's as diverse as humans. Most people are okay, some aren't, right? So I don't know why it's like that, but they can be both. So it seems that you get this diverse range of reactions, and you should be cautious around them. And even going back to your question earlier, Daniel, I mean, people have been very close to them. They can go very close up, and but sometimes when they're chasing people, it doesn't seem like they're trying to catch them. It just seems like they're having fun scaring you.
Yeah, like a game.
Of it, something. Like a game.
Yes.
Scary game. And they like watching you run away, and if they wanted to get you, they probably could.
But they could in a heartbeat. If they wanted to harm you, they could absolutely do it.
Now, has there been any cases where Bigfoot has actually killed a person?
Let me see. I have read encounters like this, okay?
Mm-hmm.
I haven't been able to ascertain if it's literally true. It's what has been in these books that you can find on Amazon. There are many, and some of them do seem like people have really submitted their accounts to authors that compile them together, and they do seem like genuine accounts. And I have read some where there were attacks, and people seem to have been injured or killed. In the cases where it seemed like the creatures were extremely hungry or something like this, like something was just wrong, and they hadn't been eating properly or something.
Yeah.
I can't ascertain, though, factually if these are true stories or if they're fiction. I can't tell because the authors haven't responded to me, and I can't find out more. So I have to say I don't know.
Okay.
Even though I would like to know, and there's a lot of speculation about this. You can hear reports from park rangers who've been way out in the backcountry in their respective national parks, wherever they've been, that they felt if they hadn't gotten out of there, they wouldn't have survived.
You know,
they have told us,
there's plenty of stories.
We don't know.
You know, where people have passed away in the woods, the forest, hikers, things like that.
Yeah.
You know, there's got to be a percentage that perhaps may have been harmed by cryptids or a Bigfoot. You know?
I wouldn't be surprised if this was true. I wouldn't be surprised because it does seem that a small percent of the Bigfoot, just like people, some of them are violent. Just like people can be, right?
Yeah, see, we can be angry, we can be happy,
We can be angry, and it seems when you go into their territory, they can get extremely upset about this, especially if there are juveniles around.
That's right. That is correct.
These aren't the cases where there are cases where people help them, and vets that people said they took a stick out of their foot. You can read cases like this.
Ooh.
They were injured, and they went up to Bigfoot, and the Bigfoot let them work on them, and he patched them up and stuff.
Wow.
There are those cases, but there are also some very hostile cases. Let's be honest about it. That seem like there were disappearances. The park rangers would say that their supervisor disappeared in an area where they had seen a Bigfoot. That's not proof that the Bigfoot was involved, but it does make you wonder, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It does. It leaves it open. That's correct.
I was kind of wondering.
I think it's open. I think we should know about this. And I have a petition on change.org.
Really?
Okay.
Yeah, if you go to change.org/protect Bigfoot, I have a petition up there just to legally recognize that they exist as an intelligent creature. It's to protect them from being just treated any old way that people feel like treating them, just like you can't do that to a person or even animals, right?
Right, exactly.
If they're somewhere in the middle, so they don't have there's no status, but also to help make them accountable too. If we legally recognize them, then they have sort of an accountability within our system as well. So I just have a petition. If you think that the government should just come clean on this, like we expect them to do on UFO, UAP subject, then I think the government, because at the Bailey Sasquatch Outpost, they have photos of the Mount Hood National Forest reporting form to report Bigfoot. Official reporting form for
yes, that's right. That's correct.
And it's mentioned in that film, A Flash of Beauty, Bigfoot Revealed, which is on streaming services. I'm just mentioning it because I thought it was an excellent documentary, and
Right.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. Yeah.
You know-
I did film with them for the second episode, by the way, which is coming out next year, but I didn't
Wow.
know any of the people involved in the first one. And I thought it was good, and they have their evidence of another, it wasn't Mount Hood, it was another Forest Service system. I think there was a Bigfoot reporting for it. So I just feel that we need to know if these creatures are out there. It's not just Bigfoot, there's Dogman and other
Yeah.
cryptids out there.
Yes.
Apparently, if you read the literature and talk to people who've seen these, and those can be seemingly quite hostile, too. It seems.
Yeah.
From people's encounters with them. So I feel that if you go out and there's a chance that you could encounter these, you should at least know about it before you proceed on your hike. I haven't encountered any of them, but in my years of hiking. But I think, to be fair to people, they should know that this is something you could encounter. Just so when it happens, if it does happen, you won't go into such a extreme panic.
Yeah.
Because you'll have a little mental preparation that you knew this was possible.
You have to be
Yeah.
prepared. You
Yep.
always have to be prepared, just like anything in life.
Prepared, I think.
No surprises.
That's right.
Yeah, just
And-
be prepared. And if it gets very quiet around your area,
yeah.
you should pay attention.
That's right. And, all these websites, by the way, you're mentioning and things like that, we are going to put that on NTR Facebook so people can see that and write that down, by the way.
Okay.
So no worries there for people that may be hearing it and not able to write that down. We'll repeat that towards the end of the show, and we'll put it on NTR Facebook as well. Jennifer?
Yes. Okay, so...
more questions? Sure.
Yeah, so one other question I had is that, how you say that they tend to get angry and stuff like that. Is it possible
sometimes, yeah.
that they can read our energy, and if that person is negative, they don't want that person near you?
So they can sense you like
Right.
a dog or a cat,
Yeah. Yeah, like they can sense our energy that we're putting out, and if it's a negative energy, then they don't want
They're
us
pissed
near
off,
them, and it makes them angry.
But if you're happy, they're happy around you.
Yeah, it might be something like that. And I went on one of these Bigfoot adventure weekends at the Sasquatch, sponsored in Bailey, sponsored by people from the Sasquatch Outpost, and they say they've never had a negative encounter out there in years of bringing people out to where the Sasquatch are in the Bailey, Colorado area.
Uh-huh.
And, we didn't see anything that night, but a group a couple miles from us, just 3 or 4 miles away, did see them through their thermal imagers. They heard them. The howls and the growls and so forth. And, but the people running that say they wouldn't do it if they felt there was any risk. At the same time, when you read other accounts, people say they cannot understand after their encounter why anyone would want to look for these creatures, because it's like a giant caveman running after you.
Yeah.
Right, but it's just a curiosity.
Your ATV or your car. So that is a good question, Jennifer. Does it have something to do with us? The thing about it is sometimes you have just people out there who seem like very conscientious Park Service workers,
Right.
just doing a catalog of flowers or something.
Mm-hmm.
And somehow they incur the wrath of these Bigfoot. I don't know why exactly. Maybe they're just territorial. And maybe some of them are just overly territorial, and they just don't want anyone else in their area, and they can really, for hours, they can just keep coming at you, and you have to really go as fast as you can to get out of there.
Yeah.
So it seems like you have both types of encounters, and based on the witnesses I've talked to, some of them seemed very neutral, like the Bigfoot seemed curious, and they were fine. And in other cases, the person panicked. They just felt very uncomfortable with the whole thing.
Okay.
It's like we haven't been trained for this. Do you know what I mean? And
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We all,
yes.
There's a feeling like we've got, the planet's under human control. That's the feeling I think that's the idea we've been taught since we're little kids. Like, there used to be dangerous animals out there, and, there still are, bear and moose. You have to be careful.
Right.
And rattlesnakes and things. We all got to understand that, but it's sort of like those are known dangers.
Right.
We have never really been prepared for the fact that you could encounter something that we really don't have a very good description of.
Yeah.
And that also goes to the UFO abductees and so forth. I don't think any of us who go out there camping have had the training of the types of strange things that you could encounter.
Right.
I hadn't heard about any of this before I did my own research, and I've been camping and hiking for many years, and I have to say, after learning about this topic, I'm just more cautious and more careful and pay more attention out there. I still like to go out and camp and hike, but I'm looking around now, and I like to bring a night vision scope. Actually. It's a little better if I can do a little scan of the area.
Exactly.
But the encounters, though, are just so diverse and so odd, and sometimes people can't even agree what the Bigfoot Sasquatch look like, even in the same group. It could go from cat-like to ape-like to caveman-like.
Right.
And the behaviors are so different. Sometimes they can slither up to your area on their belly.
Wow.
And you just see these eyes coming out of the grass, which I think would be alarming to anyone. Often there's sounds. It sounds like a freight train coming down. I've had a friend that she said it was like a freight train coming through the forest. We've heard this so many times, right? The freight train sound?
Yes.
I mean, like crashing.
Yeah.
There was an incident in Winnipeg, not too far from us, where they described it as a freight train.
Everybody says that. And I've never heard anything like this, but they said it's like crashing branches. Now, Daniel, I don't know if they're actually branches broken or if the Bigfoot are very good at making these sounds.
Right.
They're very good at ventriloquism. You know they can sound like owls and coyotes and any
That's
animal they
right.
want to sound like. They can imitate the sound of you calling for your dog. Okay?
That's correct.
Which
That's
is
correct.
apparently very strange to hear yourself calling for your dog when you're inside.
Yeah.
Just imagine that. Imagine how
incredibly
creepy.
smart.
Right. So now, speaking of dogs,
anyway, it's just very complex, and I don't have the answers. We need more discussion about what we're dealing with, so people just have better preparation. And
that's right. People need to come forward.
We need them to come forward, and again, that's why I'm starting my Zoom group that anyone is welcome to join. You can find out about it at New Crystal Mind on my blog. I'm just saying that for people because I've met so many people that want to share their story and they don't know where to do it, so I figured we'll just start a group and we'll share it amongst each other and see if we can learn anything.
That's right. That is great.
That's really neat.
Yeah, we'll make sure that goes on NTR Facebook for that. Yes.
Yeah. So what I was going to say real quick here before Daniel's question is that you know how dogs they sense things. They sense like if bad things are nearby, then stuff like that, and they're very good hunters and stuff. Do you know if there have been any encounters where they're also very friendly? So where they have actually gone up to a Bigfoot and a Bigfoot has actually picked them up?
Picked them up, gave them a big hug?
Yeah, is that what you're saying? Something like that, because they felt comfortable with them.
Happy. Yeah. It's a happy environment.
Exactly.
I'm going to look out for that. That is not anywhere in my mind of any of the encounters I've read or people I've talked to or so forth. It almost always seems that the dogs don't get along well with Bigfoot. Okay, so
most cryptids, to be honest with you, yes.
What's that?
Most cryptids, to be honest with you, dogs and cats.
Yeah, it doesn't seem because dogs are very protective of us.
Yep.
And in these encounters, but it's the same about UFOs, though. I mean, they don't seem to really mix very well because the dogs, and I've had many dogs over the years. Mm-hmm. They definitely want to protect you and your household.
Oh yeah.
And anything that doesn't fit in, I remember this case where I opened the porch door once when I was living in the Northwest, and there was something out there. I'm in town, but something felt off.
Right.
And the yard looked exceedingly dark. It looked too dark. And there was one spot that looked darker than the rest.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, I don't get what's going on here, but I'm not getting a good feeling even stepping outside of my house in town. And I can't see what's there, but it doesn't feel very good. So my dog comes right to my feet, and he starts going out there, and then he starts backing up. I mean, he starts backing up while he's facing towards the other direction. And he's snarling and barking and charging, and there's nothing there visible but energy.
Right.
So they really sense when things are off, and it seems that the cryptids generally trigger it in the defensive mode, where the dog either goes berserk or runs away and hides under your bed. Or if you're out camping, they try to get into the tent.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
I just thought, because
I wonder if there are cases where they actually are okay, because what I've heard is that dogs that are mellow are okay. Bigfoot won't bother the Bigfoot if the dogs are mellow. It's the ones that are very defensive, even very small dogs that are defensive of you, that they don't really appreciate that. And I mean, we've all heard cases and read about cases where the cryptids end up killing dogs.
Yeah. Yes, unfortunately. Mothman, especially.
Mothman, but that's also when they encounter hunting dogs and they don't appreciate that. They can really seem to take care of them very quickly because they're very strong and very fast. And so it's an interesting question. I'm going to be on the lookout for any positive. I think this would be very interesting. Are there positive interactions where the Bigfoot sort of are okay around the dogs?
Right.
Or have you heard any cases like that, Jennifer?
No, I haven't, but I was just wondering, because animals, especially dogs and cats, they're like natural curiosity. So you would think that
they do.
If they see something and maybe they don't feel frightened or spooked about it, they want to kind of get a little closer to see what they're looking at. And maybe they get very friendly with the Bigfoot because the hair or something, they might associate it with something like them,
Who knows? Yeah. I'd like to bounce around real quick, if I may.
Yeah. Go ahead.
For the listeners, how exactly did the U.S. government monitor the Soviet PK experiment? And can you tell our listeners what the Soviet PK experiment was exactly?
Okay, thanks for asking that one.
Yeah.
You are quite welcome.
So this took a lot of effort to get permission to put this story into Dark Matter Monsters, because this was part of, government surveillance of the Soviet Union, U.S. government, intelligence agency.
That's right.
And I heard about this from someone who had been in the Pentagon, who was there when it happened.
Yeah.
PK, again, for everyone, is ability to physically affect objects without touching them.
That's right.
Yep.
To levitate or bend, or even if you're touching them, to do things that you wouldn't normally do from ordinary touch, like melt or bend metal and things like this, like Uri Geller. Well, the Soviets had a program in remote viewing before the U.S. did in 72. The U.S. did it because the Soviets had a program. You can read about this in the book called ESP Wars by Ed May, ESP Wars, East and West. And he talks about the Soviet program also, which, they had a psychic espionage program too. And they had PK practitioners.
Yep.
So this person at a conference, remote viewing conference, who had worked in the Pentagon, told me that he was in a room where they were doing surveillance of a Soviet PK experiment. They were listening in to the experiment in real time.
Yeah.
And he said, the Soviet PK practitioner was 1,000 miles from Moscow, and the point was to bend a spoon. And on command, the spoon bent.
Wow.
The PK practitioner bent the spoon from 1,000 miles away.
Wow, that's incredible.
They could hear this.
Now that is amazing.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so I asked him, did you ever think of telling people about this? I mean, it would prove that psychic functioning is real, because it's monitored by a U.S. government intelligence agency. I won't say which one. It was monitored. And they knew it was real. He goes, nope, no one outside that room ever heard about it until I told you right now.
Wow.
There were 30 people in that room, and no one else, didn't even tell their wives about it.
Wow,
because it was that highly. So I said,
yeah.
Well, And he said it's not because of PK, it's because we have to protect, and you guys have heard this, sources and methods, right?
Oh, yes.
We have to protect
yes.
the methods, how we gain intent. Right. So I said, did you tell the remote viewing program at Fort Meade? Because he said this happened in 76, so the remote viewing program would have been in operation by then.
Right, exactly.
And he said, no, we never told them either. So basically, this is how stovepipe governments can be with information. They don't even tell other people within their own government.
No, they sure don't. Yeah,
like
they
this.
don't even intercommunicate.
Yeah. Wow.
They don't communicate. And so I was just thinking, guys, wouldn't it be inspiring to elementary school children to know that PK was real? I mean, like, I was inspired by watching Star Trek as a kid. I mean,
You mentioned Star Trek. I absolutely love Star Trek. I'm sorry.
We all were inspired by Star Trek, but this is real, and this is being paid for by U.S. taxpayer dollars.
That is correct. Yes.
Yeah.
And yet we didn't find out about it till this guy told me the story, because he said no one ever knew. Now you're the 31st person to know about it. And I said, well, can I put this in my upcoming book?
Yeah.
Well, I want to read what you're writing first.
Right.
And then I'll
check it over.
And I said, oh, okay, whatever. And so, this is how it works when you deal with people who've had clearances. You don't want to reveal anything that they don't think should be revealed for whatever reason.
Oh, indeed. I mean, just look at the movie Independence Day, for example.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, see, there's a person that I was speaking to, and he wants to bring back the remote viewing in the government, so to speak. He's from a government group,
Ed Danes, sort of,
and he wants to bring it back because he doesn't think it should have been taken away in the first place.
Well, it may not have been taken away. We don't know that.
Right. But you don't hear a lot of it anymore.
I don't think
you don't hear a lot about it. There has to be a balance. I mean, my point of view is, yes, sure, we don't want to do anything to jeopardize any country's national security.
Right, of course.
But at the same time, the public needs to know about reality, too.
They do.
Exactly.
They do.
The decisions to tell their lawmakers, frankly, it's both our systems, Canadian or U.S., but they need to have information to make good decisions. And guys, we're finding this out about right now. About the Congress is demanding this yearly report now from the Pentagon about UFOs, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So we know we need information. It can go too far in the direction of secrecy. It's too easy for that to happen. Because secrecy creates more secrecy.
The thing that's offensive to me is that they think that we can't handle the information. That it will be too much for us, the peasants and whatnot.
Yeah.
The peasants. Very well said. And obviously that's not true. We're having an intelligent discussion about it right now.
That's right. There's multiple shows out there.
We need multiple shows, and we're having an adult discussion.
That's right.
About very challenging topics. What we're talking about, and we're presenting possibilities and letting people make their own minds up, encouraging them to do their own research.
That's right.
How
exactly.
it works. And why doesn't it work that way with UFOs and cryptids and everything?
Right.
I want this all to come out from under the rug in my lifetime, out of the closet. I don't want these witnesses feeling traumatized anymore beyond what they felt from their encounters. And this includes UFO witnesses, too. Abductees and people who've encountered strange craft wherever they're doing on the highway at night and missing time and all that. They've already gone through one type of trauma, and they're missing a couple hours or something, right?
Yeah.
Or they may remember what happened to them and they're on a ship and there's medical experiments or whatever they experience.
Right.
Whole range, right? But then now you even double that trauma by not having a place for them to talk about it with respect.
Exactly.
Amongst all of us, right?
Yep.
That's correct.
And that's just, can we stop doing this? And have
exactly.
Even the Congress has said we're gonna. I'll tell you guys, we're gonna have hearings in the U.S. about this. I just have a feeling.
Oh, no question about it.
It's you guys are in Canada, right? Am I right about that?
No, we're pretty close. We're about I'd say
40 miles.
about 45 miles away from the border.
Yeah, we're in Upper Minnesota.
Upper Minnesota, the great Upper Midwest.
So you guys, so you know about what's going on. So I'm talking to people that know about what's going on in the U.S. And I wasn't sure if you were Canadian-based or U.S. So
right.
So you know about all of this too. I mean,
yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
To end the secrecy and have a discussion. No one is saying here. I mean, you guys know we're not saying here reveal things that damage national security. You can put black tape over anything that shouldn't be shown on the video.
That's right. White it out, so to speak.
Advanced sensor systems to our adversaries. We get this.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you're having thousands and thousands of people encountering cryptids, UFOs, and sometimes both.
I mean, frankly, people have the right to know. That's the bottom line.
Yeah, and it's happening more and more.
I'm just tired of this secret. This is ridiculous.
The secrecy, it is getting very juvenile, so to speak.
Yeah.
It's juvenile, and we have adult shows like this where we're having good, honest discussions. None of us totally know the answer to any of these questions.
Yes, and I can tell you that I'm not going to lose my mind if I was told. I would be excited. I would love to hear that knowledge, But again, we're just small little children.
A lot of other people, they feel better about themselves knowing it wasn't just them.
Well, it's the excitement of the authority that perhaps that they have over us.
Yep. They like to dangle the
What's the excitement of what?
It's like they're happy that they have the authority to keep things like that from us, dangling the carrot, so to speak, in front of us.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I get it, guys. I get it. But we're the ones with the authority ultimately in our system, and we have
that is right. And some of us forget about that. That's right.
Yep.
You ever hear about the Watergate hearings? I mean, I remember.
Oh my gosh, yes.
1973. That wasn't easy.
No.
We don't want to think that the president bugged. I mean, we don't want to think laws were broken and any kind of.
You never do. You never do.
Or we're not gonna. Come on, it's like that. Where it's like it's what Stanton Friedman used to say, a cosmic Watergate. Isn't that what Stanton Friedman used to say?
Right. Well, you know, it's like, okay, so they say the movies tell us stuff before our time, and if you look back at the Twilight Zone, and they had one incident or one episode where, like, everyone had to choose to, like, the girl, once she turned a certain age, I believe it was 18, right? She got to choose if she wanted to be this girl or that girl, and, it's like, it's all mind games,
movies
and series. It's like...
Rod Serling really was, he really predicted things in the future.
So it makes you think he was trying to tell us something.
Really something.
Oh my gosh, he was. I love studying him. I love watching the shows.
Rod Serling, he narrated that. Do you know about that documentary the U.S. government funded on UFOs called UFOs Past, Present, and Future?
Yes, I do.
And it's amazing. And then it was initially called UFOs It Has Begun, and there's actually a book of the same title. Now, according to Robert Emenegger and the other fellow that produced it, Adam Sandler, I think it was, Sandler.
Yeah.
So they were approached by, I think, officials from Norton Air Force Base in California, if I'm not mistaken, who said, we want a UFO documentary. Can you believe it?
Wow.
And then you can watch it. It's on YouTube. It's excellent. It's really a good documentary of the cases of the time, right? And the different cases. And then according to Emenegger, before it went to movie theaters, they said, we changed our mind. Isn't that the story? Am I getting it right?
Yeah, that's like somebody got to them. That's what it is. You can't speak the truth, or you're called a conspiracy theorist.
But
or a terrorist, or something like that.
Conspiracy theorists now are
mind games.
It's changing now. That name now means that you think truth now. Yeah. With conspiracy theorists.
Yeah. So.
But this is the Air Force that changed their mind. I mean, I don't know. Maybe someone got to that particular Air Force base and said, no, you guys can't do this. Maybe it was just some of those folks on the base who thought it'd be a good idea, or we don't know. We don't really know. But I mean, it's a strange story, and it's such a well-done documentary, by the way. It's serious for the 1970s, early 70s. I mean, it's a pretty serious documentary about this phenomena. They have witnesses, and they don't make fun of any of it.
No,
they do not
sure
make
don't.
fun of any of this.
It's very serious.
No, they do not.
Oh yeah.
Very serious.
So,
And this is why, what's wrong with that serious attitude towards the subject? It's time. And the fact that we're having this conversation shows we're ready to seriously engage. It's like what the captains of Star Trek, Star Trek starships would say, engage.
Yes. Yeah, engage.
Time to
Yes.
engage, guys. Because
Yes, exactly.
yeah.
and the Congress, some people in Congress realize this, or we wouldn't be having this report, which is late. But
Yeah.
better late than never. Who knows what it'll show?
Yeah, it'll be stretched out.
yeah.
Perhaps.
But I want to say something.
Yes, go ahead.
It's coming out soon. We already know the advanced conclusion. Allegedly, about half of the sightings in some year can't be explained, which that's a good conclusion. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
But I think this extends to cryptids too, and I wouldn't have thought this a couple of years ago. It took some real research and getting familiar with the witness testimony to realize how serious a situation this is for people that encounter it.
Yeah.
It can really shake up your view of reality, and look, people are scared to go outside after these types of encounters.
Oh, yeah.
And
Yeah.
if that's the way reality is, we should just know about it. I'm not saying we have to do anything about it, but at least people should know that these beings, whatever they are,
Yeah.
they exist, and you
Exactly.
could encounter them any state you're in. You could encounter them. It's just to be aware, pay attention.
Right.
That's correct.
Right.
Simeon, I'm sorry, we're up against a break again. You're going to hang out for a third hour. We've
Yes.
got plenty of questions left for you.
I can do about another half hour. How about that?
Okay,
Perfect. That sounds great
good.
to us. So we have Dr. Simeon Hein with us tonight, and we are having a enjoyable conversation about multiple things, cryptids. We're going to be talking about ball lightning as well coming up. UFOs, the Pentagon programs, just a multitude of things. We're having a great time tonight here on Night Talks Radio, Saturday Night Live. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back.
Hey everyone, this is Jennifer Gregerson from Night Talks Radio and NTR Daily. I've always had an interest in antiques and vintage clothing. A few days ago, while searching the internet, I came across this cute little store called Gentle Lady Boutique. It's a tasteful, non-woke, conservative clothing and accessories shop. This 1920s mix and match boutique is for women who like to be unique, feel free and alive, love vintage and modern clothing, or just want to show these beautiful items, styles, and past values to today's modern-day society. Most of all, show their voice. Their motto, Lobby for a More Gentle America, represents the roaring 20s and how we once had values, and standing up for what you believe can be a step to helping the era in every aspect come alive again. Gentle Lady Boutique is a patriot and veteran-owned mother-daughter vision with strong core values of how America has lost the skill of simple, gentle manners, which is what Teresa and Samantha thought was present back in the early 20th century. One of the owners, Teresa, has spoken to Alex Jones from InfoWars along with Newsmax about her story, about how both her and her daughter stood up against the mask mandates and ventured in a new direction. Teresa worked as a flight attendant and Samantha worked as a waitress. They both strongly believed that the masks took away from the personal connection with the customers and the passengers. After browsing through her store, I fell in love with this beautiful raspberry dress from the 1920s. To my surprise, it arrived a couple days later. It was gorgeous, absolutely amazing. The size was just right and fit me perfectly. I can't wait to take my engagement pictures in it. So if you're like me and enjoy the 1920s, head on over to GentleLadyBoutique.com and browse their wonderful selection, and maybe you will be able to find the dress that you've always wanted. And don't forget to check out Teresa's amazing story. Gentle Lady Boutique has teamed up with Night Talks Radio with 2 codes and 2 great deals. The Night Talks 100 deal is 10% off the entire order, free shipping with a $100 purchase or more. And the Ships Free deal is with $100 purchase or under for free shipping only. The 2 bonuses of this all is that Night Talks Radio gets 5% of the monthly sales, and it also helps Teresa and her daughter Samantha grow their business and be heard. So help your fellow conservatives and purchase a great gift for every occasion. I know I'm going to go buy some more fantastic items. How about you? For Gentle Lady Boutique, this is Jennifer Gregerson from Night Talks Radio.
Streaming to you live from Spreaker.com and somewhere deep in the great upper Midwest. If you're ready for a ride, you can call NTR anytime by dialing the nationwide caller line at 1-507-384-9390. First-time callers can reach Night Talks Radio at 1-507-307-4424. Text Daniel and NTR exclusively at 1-218-689-7126. Now, from somewhere in the great upper Midwest, here's your hosts, Daniel Brewer and Jennifer Gregerson.
Paint it black. That's what the government likes to do with the things that we're talking about tonight. Blacking out certain things so we don't know. We don't know what the heck is going on with the things that we're talking about. But hopefully tonight with Dr. Simeon Hein, we'll find out more information. He's coming back for Hour 3. This is Night Talks Radio, Saturday night, live. So, as I said, we have Dr. Simeon Hein. He's able to stay for another half hour, and we're going to try to get some questions in. And, of course, you can call in if you have questions for Dr. Simeon Hein as well. But we are going to now bring him back. Dr. Simeon Hein, are you still there?
Yes. Hey, how's it going, guys?
All right. Well, let's pick up where we left off. Jennifer, I don't know if you had a question there ready to go.
Yes. How did a Midwestern town in the U.S. mysteriously suffer a short-term electromagnetic collapse?
Oh.
Thanks for asking. You're the first.
Yeah.
You are the first to ask that question out of all these interviews I've done on Dark Matter Monsters. You're the first one
Wow.
to pick up on that.
You are a winner.
I'm a winner.
You are the winner. You win the prize. good perception there.
You know, my thought on that would be that maybe they had a whole bunch of UFO encounters. That's what I would have thought, maybe.
Right.
Some mass.
Okay, so that is... Yeah, it could have been something. So here's the case. This is the same person that told me about the PK, Soviet PK experiment that was monitored by U.S. intelligence.
Yes.
Okay, so this person had another story for me. They said that the U.S. government has ability to monitor.
We have a call. Can you hold on just one moment before
we have a call off for you.
Do you want me to finish or you want me to wait?
You know what? Go ahead. It looks like that call dropped off. Whoever was trying to call again, go ahead and call again.
Okay.
Sure.
Go ahead, Simeon.
The story was that the U.S. our military saw that sometime in the 1960s, a town in the Midwest, in one of the Midwestern states, completely lost all electrical function.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, the EMF spectrum collapsed. Batteries stopped working. Watches stopped working for 24 hours.
Huh.
And
Wow.
they never could.
Like an EMP.
They never... Yeah, they did. That's obviously their concern is that there's some... But it wasn't an EMP explosion. It wasn't a blast or any sort of weapon. It just was over this one town. The inhabitants noticed that nothing electrical worked for a day, including cars and things. And they didn't contact the town. I thought maybe they would have called them and said, "Hey, we're your U.S. government. You know, we noticed that your EMF spectrum collapsed. You know, Maxwell's laws stopped working. Equations based on electromagnetism." they never notified him. And this person said to me, "Well, how do you think we monitored? How do you think we knew this was happening?" And I said, "I don't know." And he goes, "Well, I'm not going to tell you."
Right? Yes. Exactly.
I think we got a clue from John Ramirez when he talked about what he referred to as measures and signatures intelligence. It's sort of a monitoring of the electromagnetic spectrum across the United States. Daniel, I think they're monitoring it for EMP explosion. You know, a nuclear weapon would create a lot of electromagnetic disturbance and energy, and I think according to Ramirez, they have MASNs going across the entire U.S. So it appears. Right. I'm not sure how they actually monitor this.
We have a call again there, Simeon. And it looks like the call got dropped again. That is very strange. Why is it when we talk about things like this that we have dropped calls?
I don't know. But I think you're supposed to hit the merge button right away.
Well, that doesn't matter. It picks up. Very strange. Go ahead, Simeon. Simeon, are you still there?
No, I think you got
Oh, no. Then. Simeon, are you still with us?
No, I think when you answered that call, you cut him off.
Let's see here. What happened
you got any on hold?
To Simeon? I don't see that we have anybody on hold here. Simeon, are you still with us? Very strange. Very strange. Whoever was trying to call, maybe attempt to try to call back. Let's see here. It's like he's still there, but let's take a look here. Let's go deep into this computer and see what we can find out. Simeon, if you can hear us, try to call back. It looks like we may have lost you. And once again, the calls were dropping, which is an issue that happens when we talk about things like this in general.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So, I see that it seems that he's still there.
Yeah.
If you're looking right at it.
I don't know what happened.
So, Simeon, if you're there, hang up and call back if you could.
Did you mute him?
He's not muted. He's not. Kind of getting used to this scenario here. This tends to happen quite a bit.
I'll try and send him a message.
Send him a message and let him know that we have some things happening. Yeah, see, I can't even control Simeon now. Look at that. I can't put him on mute. I can't unmute him. I can't do anything. How about we do this? We'll hang up, tell Simeon to call back. So now that call is gone. And there is nobody else on the line, as far as I know. What do we have here? That's a block that I wanted to call. We don't want that. And here we go.
There we go.
All right, and is Simeon?
Hey.
Looks like we lost you there.
Yeah, that's strange.
Mysterious. Cut off. Anyway.
Yes, go ahead.
Oh, well, anyway, that's the story. So thanks for asking. Yeah. We just don't know, and it looks like there's this. But can I add one more thing about this before we go to the next question?
Yeah, absolutely.
What I was saying when we were cut off is there could be really strange things happening around North America that are never reported in the news, like an electromagnetic collapse of one area.
Right.
And you never hear about it.
Yeah.
I only heard about this recently, and this is something from the 60s. So we're talking about something that's 60 years ago. And just now I heard about, maybe no one else ever heard about it outside of that Defense Department. I mean, don't you think it's something, folks?
Yeah, there is something
things are
going on.
You don't hear about it.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Well, they're sitting there talking about how they don't know if our power grid is going to make it through the winter or something like that.
Not the power grid, energy in general, because of the oil shortage.
So it could very well be something with it.
Yeah. Of course, and then, of course, our power grid itself is not protected whatsoever. This is brought up many, many times. It wouldn't...
And this was beyond the power grid, though, folks. I mean, we're talking about this... I guess this is like battery stopped working. Like,
right.
Watches stopped working. Yeah, that's what... Now, I have to add one thing about this.
Go ahead.
Alexander Parkhomov, who I mentioned in Dark Matter Monsters, and I learned about from the MFMP nonprofit group, they published his book, Space Earth Human, and he's a former Soviet, now Russian scientist who looked into relic neutrinos and the lensing, and he's a nuclear scientist over there, but he looked into relic neutrinos and built his own device with Soviet surplus equipment and showed that based on where the Earth was in the Milky Way at the time in the solar system, you got these variations, very repeatable variations over the course of the year and so forth. So he found, doing more research about him, you read his book and he said he was part of the Soviet remote viewing program. Before he was into advanced aeronautics, he was part of one of their classified aeronautics institutes. Before that, he was in the remote viewing program, and he mentions similar things happening in the Soviet Union. He thought it had to do with small black holes coming into the atmosphere.
Wow!
Now,
really?
Yeah, small black holes. Now, I've never heard this mentioned anywhere in Science Magazine or in the West, but he took it very seriously. I mean, he said it was not conclusively proven, but you'd have these small balls of energy come into the atmosphere and people would see them flying along, pulling up nails and shingles off of roofs.
Wow.
And even causing buildings to lift off the ground briefly for a few seconds, and people will report hitting the ceiling. As if there were small areas in cities or small towns where gravity was just reversed just for a few seconds and everything hit the ceiling.
Right.
And he attributed this. Yeah, isn't that very strange? I mean, I never really thought about it.
That is indeed strange.
It sounds like a science fiction movie, but he attributed it to small black holes entering the atmosphere and maybe going into the Earth, and you never see them again. And they exit out the other side, and they're gone. But, again, going back to this incident about the Midwestern town losing electricity, you and I never heard about that, and I only was able to put it in the book because I asked this person, I said, look, can we change the details just a little bit so it's not which town on which date, right?
Yeah.
And he said, okay, but that's what I'm wondering is how much haven't we heard about of things like this? And even in Parkhomov's book, Space Earth Human, he's talking about small black holes. Well, if that happened a couple times over decades in the Soviet Union, do you think it might have happened in the U.S. and again we didn't hear about it? Or maybe it's just the U.S. is pretty big, so maybe it just affected areas where there weren't people, or if it was just a few people, they don't know what happened to them and it never made the news. I don't know. But it just suggests that there are weird things happening, not all the time, but from time to time, but it never gets reported. It just never gets reported. So, thanks for asking.
Yeah, no problem.
Quite amazing.
Yeah.
Quite amazing.
It looks like we do have another call. We're going to try and merge it.
Let's see what happens here.
Sure, good.
Oh, there we go.
Caller, are you there? Nope. They're not there again.
The ghost caller.
It is a ghost caller. Now, here, see, look at this. I kid you not. Kid you not. Let's see what happens here. Caller, are you there? Caller, hello. Who is this?
This is James.
No, you got to merge it.
James, how you doing tonight?
Great.
Okay. Do you have a question for Simeon?
Yeah, I was wondering if he's familiar with the with research done by Jacques Vallée. He kind of started off with the idea that that UFOs and that were like more like something that was extraterrestrial and that, and he kind of switched over to being something.
Oh my goodness. Folks, I kid you not. We lost all the calls again. Is this, I mean, seriously?
Yeah.
When have you seen this happen?
Yeah, I don't know. I think what you have to do is you have to answer it right away, and then you got to try and merge it.
I mean, we have phone calls. Everything's gone right before, but it seems when we talk about stuff like this, look at that. Multiple phone calls were coming in.
Yeah.
And that was just extremely insane. Yeah, I can't explain it anymore. Simeon, if you're still out there and listening, call back in. You know, this has been something that happens.
Yeah.
It's been happening ever since that episode with the EVP of that little girl.
Yeah, yeah. And James, if you can go ahead and send the message through Skype, through our chat.
Send the message, and we'll get it to
we'll get it to him.
Yes.
We do apologize, but for some reason we're not able to merge the calls.
This is something that affects Night Talks Radio every time we're talking about something odd and strange, you know. Something that perhaps the government doesn't want you to hear.
Right,
you know,
exactly.
That's the thing. So, yes, Simeon, if you're out there, please give us a call back. And if people dare to, again, you can attempt to call if you have any questions. I mean, something's got to come through, you would think at one point. And yes, of course, you can message on our chat, and we can relay that to Simeon if he can call back, if he's out there listening still.
I hope he can call back. He
well,
said
here's the thing.
Another half hour with us.
Right. Well, here's the thing, is that everything was going great.
Yeah.
And then just one little thing may have been said, and then suddenly we're being cut off. This is stuff that you hear about all the time.
Yeah.
You know? And frankly, it's not surprising to me anymore.
No, not at all.
You know, when you talk about this type of stuff, they don't want you to know. This is stuff that they want you to be silent about.
Yep.
They don't want people to know about this type of stuff.
Yep, exactly.
You know, they want to keep it to a minimum. And don't think for one second that they are not listening.
Yeah,
I mean,
right?
That's our show's motto. They are listening.
Yep.
So, you know, any given time, you know, our television is listening to us, our cell phone.
Oh, yeah.
And especially if you have a radio broadcast, they for sure are listening to what you have to say and who you're talking to exactly.
Yeah, and if they don't like it, they're going to get rid of the call.
That's right. They can drop the calls. You have heard this many, many times on other shows. So this is, once again, not something that is surprising. It is disappointing, though.
Right.
Because we were having an enjoyable conversation with Simeon.
Are we able to try and call him?
We can attempt to try to call Simeon. Let's see what happens there, if we're cut off or not. So I believe that is him right there. Updating conversation. I don't know what that means exactly. Not connecting. So we've got a message from Simeon himself. It says not connecting.
Does he have, can we give him a different number to try?
Folks, this is the strangest thing that I've ever come across.
Yeah.
Let me try this. Yes, it's not even giving us an opportunity to call this person.
No.
This is very strange, folks. Now, let's see if
That's James.
Now, Simeon's phone number. Okay, it starts with 3. Yes,
Okay,
cannot do it.
I'm going to tell him the other number here, and we'll see if we can.
Try to give him,
the
the other number.
Our number is.
And perhaps we can. Let's see here. I don't know if Simeon.
Hi, it's Simeon here. I can't take your call right now. Please
Look at that
number, and I'll return your call as soon as possible.
So we're not able
to call
to get through to him.
No.
If you all just heard that, that is very, very strange. So even with us trying to contact him, that is not going through. Yes, maybe have him attempt to call another line. I know we're losing time here. This is unfortunate. But let's try once again. I'll try calling and see if he picks up. Simeon.
Hi, it's Simeon here. I can't take your call right now.
It is just the voicemail once again. So, it looks like we've lost him.
Yeah.
I don't know what to say about this.
Yeah, I know.
We
and then the weird thing is that it's almost like he's deleted from history.
Exactly. Like, it's just
like
not
his number
there.
Isn't there.
You know, and we're getting questions. We're getting multiple questions here. But we cannot get a hold of Simeon any longer. Whether it be, by phone call or message or whatever have you. It's simply he was cut off. There was too much being said, perhaps.
Yeah. I know.
That is unfortunate, folks.
He said he just tried that. He didn't connect. They're censoring us.
That is right. We're able to communicate. We're communicating with Simeon via our cell phones. He just said they are censoring us, and that is a fact, folks. We know that Night Talks Radio, NTR Facebook, and of course NTR Twitter was shut down. Mm-hmm. There was no reason given for that. We were shadow banned and then completely just thrown away like garbage.
Well, James, I'm going to go ahead and pass him on your question, and hopefully he can go ahead and answer it to me, and I can read it back.
Via text message. But yes, I'm not surprised one bit. We're being censored.
Yeah.
That's the thing. And of course when you're a conservative radio broadcast as well, you're a target.
Yeah.
You're a target. So we only have NTR Facebook and of course our chat group and our show. So when this happens, it is shadow banning and it's censoring. This is something that needs to stop. This is quite outrageous, and this is something the Republicans talked about, censoring people like this.
Yeah, exactly.
That they have plans to immediately address that issue.
That's why we need the red tsunami.
The red tsunami, which is definitely coming. I'm not going to lie about that.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, real quick, we might as well tell folks, on Tuesday's episode of NTR Daily, it will be our first midterm election broadcast.
Yes.
So we will be there all night with you. We'll have special guest Brian Homer, who is mayor of Thief River Falls. And what else is he? He is also president of the region, the county? What is that?
Regional president of agricultural committee, I think.
Okay, very well.
He says, yes, I agree with Valley, and we've talked about it. He said UFO experiences are often accompanied by RV-type phenomenon even before the encounter.
There you go, James. I hope you heard that. That was his reply via text on our cell phones. But yes, we'll have, like I said, we'll have Brian Homer on the show, possibly Dan Crenshaw.
Yeah, he says definitely a sign of a multiverse experience.
There you go, James. to answer your questions. Man, I feel horribly bad. We were having such a great conversation, but it looks like it was taken away from us, censored once again, because we're conservative. It's no joke, folks. I mean, this really does happen, especially when they don't want you talking about something very specific. They have come out and said this. You know, it's not like it's hidden anymore.
Should I call Simeon on my phone, put him on speaker so we can say thank you?
We
and all
can
that?
do that. The audio is not going to be top notch, but we certainly can try that.
All right, let's go ahead and try that.
So let's see what we can do with that.
All right.
We're going to attempt to call Simeon via the cell phone. Put him on speaker. Make sure it's totally up. There he is, Simeon. So
we're getting disconnected, and
I mean it's clear censorship again.
Yeah, exactly.
And we're very well known for being shadow banned. I don't know if you heard or not.
Shadow banned.
Oh my goodness! I mean, Twitter. We had NTR Twitter. That was taken away from us. They didn't give a reason at all. It just said that we violated their policies.
Yep. And then there was
How can it violate their policy?
Right.
And of course, they don't tell you what you did wrong because
That's
essentially
ridiculous. This is a perfectly
there's nothing. We're not talking about
reasonable conversation.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there was a friend of ours, who tried to ask us a question or something like that, and they said that she was going against the company standards. Following a false imprisonment or a false impression.
False impression, false information, but
of a radio show.
Yeah, just it's straight. I mean, it's clear what's going on.
Well,
but Simeon,
are we still on the air?
Yes, we are still on the air. We're still live.
I've actually had this response from Google and Facebook advertising to my remote viewing training. They said it was typical of false representation and deceptive advertising to say that people had psychic ability.
Wow,
that is nuts.
I offered to fly out to Menlo Park to Facebook, even to give them a slide presentation about the history of the U.S. remote viewing program.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I said I would do it on my own dime just to show them that the evidence that RV was real. And they didn't respond. So I know what the blowback is like from big corporate response to these sorts of topics. But again, it just shows how out of touch they are with reality.
That's completely right. If we could, I'd like to jump back into what you were talking about if you have time.
Sure, go ahead.
All right, so we actually have two more questions.
Let's go with two more questions. Yeah. So then, if you have anything to add.
Well, actually, these three questions here.
Okay, go ahead.
So, Simeon, why are weird gravitational effects caused by ball lightning, and can you explain what kind are caused and what ball lightning actually is?
Oh, great questions. Mm-hmm. Really good questions. Yeah, so you start answering this from the last part of the question. Ball lightning is a type of coherent matter phenomena that is created when charge clusters are formed. You could just think of electrons that flow in wires, but when they cluster together, they can have this real attractive force that pushes them together. Now, we're used to electricity having a repulsive force. That's what we were all taught in our chemistry classes and so forth, physics, that like charges repel.
Right.
But that's only true to a certain point. When they get compressed very closely, the attractive force outweighs the repulsive force. And there's a kind of a chain reaction where they keep clustering and clustering into a very small ball. And when that happens, they all become they all get to the same temperature and frequency. Because they're so clustered together, they're compressed. This is why cold fusion and Lehner reactions happen in compressed materials, palladium, metals, and so forth. They force whatever sort of hydrogen you're working with or other gases, they compress it together, and that creates coherent matter. And this is discussed in the Lockheed Martin patent from 2021. They call it coherent matter wave beams. And they talk about this type of coherency.
Right.
And originally, this was only known to exist with the Bose-Einstein condensate, which is discovered here in Boulder in 1995, but thought to exist by Einstein and Bose in 1925.
Yeah.
And that is only done at really cold temperatures. But what coherent matter is shown us, research, and the Lockheed Martin patent and people that have worked in different, science labs and defense contractors, is you can create coherent matter at any temperature. You don't just need super cold temperatures like Bose-Einstein condensate in a laboratory under very controlled circumstances.
Right.
Coherent matter is when the particles lose their individuality and become more like a wave.
Yeah.
Quantum mechanics says should happen. Right. So, ball lightning, because people around it have reported that it's not hot to the touch, even though it's glowing.
Right.
It's a type of room temperature Bose-Einstein condensate. It's coherent matter. And ball lightning can exist at a macroscopic scale, like people see it when it comes into an airplane, or you can see it around thunderstorms.
Right.
But sometimes it just shows up at different areas, like areas that are rich in particular minerals and chemical elements that ball lightning likes, such as Skinwalker Ranch and Marley Woods and places like that.
That's awesome that you brought up Skinwalker. Because I wanted to ask, why did the Pentagon program called AAWSAP research the encounters at Skinwalker Ranch?
Before I answer that, I just want to finish the final.
Yes, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Fine.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, so what cold fusion liner researchers saw is that you get this ball lightning at a microscopic scale too. You can get mini ball lightning.
That's correct. Yeah.
It creates a type of electronuclear collapse where the whole nucleonic structure collapses.
Just breaks down.
That compression factor that we're talking about. And that causes matter to collapse and actually creates transmutation of elements, what used to be called alchemy.
Right, yes.
And this is why in cold fusion experiments, you can take pure metals like lead and start seeing carbon come out of them where there was no carbon before. It was 100% lead, and all of a sudden you have this ball spewing out carbon films and carbon sprays. It's literally a type of transmutation, very powerful if you think about it.
Right,
right, absolutely.
Once you get these compression reactions going, they're very strong, and they create their own type of cold electricity. Radiant energy, which, by the way, Nikola Tesla talked about. And he created it with huge plasma discharge pulse devices that you'd see in his laboratories. These really huge pulses of electricity and lightning coming off of his equipment.
Yeah.
Right.
In those days, they used really big equipment, and it would take the size of a room. But nowadays, you can do it at a microscopic scale. It's the same sort of pulse discharge, but it's at a very small scale. And it ends up with the same effects, which is negating gravity. And this is why, how do we know this is true? Well, this leads into your question, Daniel, about Skinwalker Ranch and OSAP. Because the U.S. Air Force has sponsored ball lightning research since the 50s. The reason they did it is because it has an anti-gravitational effect. Those balls of light that you see floating around seem to defy gravity, right?
Yep.
They're creating their own gravitational frame of reference. They're creating their own gravitational field. It's not literally anti-gravity. They are annihilating gravity in their own area. And this is why the Air Force has sponsored research into it, because if you look at the Air Force ball lightning research papers, like Eric Davis, who we know from the Wilson Davis memo, that Eric Davis wrote a ball lightning research paper around 2003, and half of it is redacted.
Yes, that's right.
It's half. You look it up, U.S. Air Force ball lightning study, Eric Davis, you'll find it. Half of it is whited out. The Stanton Brady used to joke about how things were whited out now instead of blacked out. Whited out.
Right.
Why? Why would ball lightning research be redacted? Because it's classified anti-grav research.
Right, exactly.
Now, do you think that they might have been doing some experimenting? Have you ever heard of the House on the Rock? It's over at Wisconsin Dells.
No. That's interesting. What is it?
Okay, so the House on the Rock is, they think that there's a gravitational pull of a rock or a meteor or something that is down the cliff or down the hill. But what happens is you walk into this house and it's like a cabin, and if you're walking straight, to you you're walking straight, but you actually start walking at an angle and you lose your balance and you fall into the wall.
Right.
Then there's another one.
One of these strange areas that do. There's one of those in Montana too. Yeah.
And then if you put, like, the chair up against the wall, you can actually put two legs of the chair up against the board of the wall.
That's correct.
And then the other two will float in the air.
Very strange. Very strange.
What is this place called?
It's Wisconsin Dells, and it's called House on the Rock.
Yeah, look it up. It's very intriguing.
I'm not sure if they have it anymore.
You have these gravitational anomalies, and it could be because you have natural cold fusion LNR happening around there or something. You have to understand this is a natural process. What we're talking about is totally natural. You see it in black holes and neutron stars.
Yeah.
What the cold fusion LNR researchers told us is that it happens at microscopic scales here on Earth. It's not just something far away in the cosmos, just like the relic neutrinos. It's happening here. And that might be an area where something like that is actually happening under the surface.
Okay.
And it's creating these gravitational anomalies. And that gets into your question, Daniel, about OSEP. The OSEP program was really, once it got going, which it was a UFO program. And that's what Lukatsky tells us in Skinwalkers at the Pentagon, which people should read. It wasn't initially a Skinwalker Ranch program. It was a UFO program, but they found out about Skinwalker Ranch. They knew about Robert Bigelow and all this.
Right.
So they said, well, let's go take a look at Skinwalker to see if this has anything to do with, there's UFOs sighted there. And they encountered the cryptid phenomena. Which they encountered the orbs and these black hole type objects. Lukatsky writes about it. These very dark objects on the trail that emanated very cold temperatures. By the way, that's part of condensed matter is changes in temperature. You get this around UFO sightings and cryptids, by the way. You've heard about this. People say it suddenly got cold before the Bigfoot showed up, stuff like that.
That's right, yeah.
Everything I said here about Bigfoot, some of the cases, it's not every single one, but you hear about this. A lot of those Bigfoot encounters obviously seem like an ordinary encounter. They don't all have some of this sort of strange aspect to it, but a lot of them do. Enough of them do that we can see a pattern. Well, they found this at Skinwalker Ranch, and they got really interested in, beyond what Robert Bigelow had done with NIDS, the DIA program. They saw the UFOs, they saw the shape-shifting and all. They got really interested in it. But the weird thing about it was they couldn't get any other government intelligence agencies to want to study this. Even because the other government intelligence agencies were concerned it might affect their reputation.
Oh boy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what they said. They had DHS said we're a new intelligence organization. We don't want something like this making people think we study weird stuff. Everyone's afraid of the stigma of studying these topics. But look, I think as we've established even tonight, this is just advanced physics. This is not anything that is inherently strange. It creates effects that we don't understand very well, like portals.
That's right.
Coming through and orbs. But to me, it's just another type of condensed matter physics that, it may lead to connection with other parallel realities. But I mean, that's the type of universe we live in with other universes.
Yeah.
I mean, if you don't like that, just find another universe where there's no parallel reality.
I
can't
just
do
move
anything
on.
about it. It's, guys, this is what this all comes down to.
Yeah.
This whole universe we live in is considerably stranger than anyone ever told us.
That's right.
Yeah.
That is absolutely correct.
Yeah.
And it took, I'm almost 60 years old now. It took me this long to figure this out.
Wow.
I mean, I saw it was strange with RV, but as all these topics kept piling up, I saw. How strange does it get?
It's been 40 years for me. Yeah, and I still can't.
It takes a lot of work reading and listening to interviews like on your show and other shows, and you realize these people are telling the truth.
Right,
They're not making this up. This isn't a weather balloon. This isn't a bear.
Yeah.
They really saw something really strange, and there's some sort of cover-up going on to keep people from telling their stories, or at least that's the effect. Whether it's intentional, I don't know, but that's the effect, is people are afraid of being ridiculed and ostracized, so they don't share their stories. But the more you hear from them, when it happens to be your friends, people you've known a while, you realize, wow, this is a really serious situation. So the OSAP people encountered this attitude from the U.S. government, which is why it went out of business, at least officially, and the government said, we don't want to fund this anymore because you're looking at dogmen. But you know the story. The dogmen were seen later at their homes in Maryland, even from their kids and their friends' kids of the friends. So, friends of their kids. And they hadn't told their kids what they were looking because it was classified. So, again, this shows us what we're dealing with here is just being in contact with these phenomena changes you enough that you're going to start seing more things that were, in my view, were always there, but you didn't see before.
Exactly. That would be like, the story that happened to me when I was in my car accident. When I was young, I saw ghosts all the time, but to me it was just black shadows, and stuff.
Like shadow people.
I didn't know what it was, and I thought my eyes were playing tricks on me. And then it was when I was in my car accident, and she actually came to me and saved my life and told me that the NG tube that was in my throat was basically going to kill me.
It was going to choke you.
I removed it, and it was kinked like a hose. And ever since then, I've been able to sense the paranormal near me. And
that's fascinating.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. In the aftermath of the accident, you're in a wrecked car, and a spirit comes to you and says, "Move that thing around your neck." What was it?
No, so what happened is I had my car accident, and I was rushed to the hospital, and I was supposed to have surgery, so they put an NG tube down your throat.
To help you to,
plus I was bleeding internally inside, so that's supposed to help, suck it out or whatever.
Of course. Sure.
And she came to me and told me her name was Rachel, and she had been following me and been at my childhood home, and she told me that I needed to take it out or it was going to kill me. And I took it out, and because it didn't feel right. I asked the nurse, this doesn't feel right, and she's like, well, I have to talk to the doctor. And then she came to me after the nurse left and said, no, you have to take it out right now. I took it out, and it was kinked like
Turned
a
out
garden
it was
hose.
kinked. So, saved her life, essentially.
Yeah, she saved my life.
Wow.
Just amazing stuff.
Yep.
That is something. Jennifer, this is so many people, not so many people report what you just described. I've heard people talk about this.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Yes.
It sometimes takes a so-called quote-unquote accident to jar us into reality, isn't it?
To push us into that reality, yes. That's
Because
exactly.
we want to leave our ordinary, normal reality that we've been socialized to ever since we were very young.
Oh, yeah.
You're not voluntarily going to leave that because people are going to think you're cuckoo.
Right, exactly.
I mean, we can continue this more on the regular phone. I can certainly call you and stuff, because after that, I experienced a lot more phenomena and
very interesting
strange
stuff.
things afterwards.
I would like to talk to you more about it sometime. It's fascinating. I got to tell you, some of the remote viewers became good remote viewers after accidents.
Yeah, that is correct. Simeon, I'm so sorry. We're up against the clock now, unfortunately, because of censorship. I'm not going to mention any names here, but can we get some information on how people can get a hold of you? All your websites, all that type of stuff.
Sure. I mean, any of the books I mentioned that I've read, Opening Minds, Dark Matter Monsters. Those are all on Amazon. You can. I'm happy to send people signed copies from my newcrystalmind.com blog.
Okay.
New Crystal Mind, and I have the top link there is a link. I think it was from when I was on Whitley's Dreamland show.
Yeah, Whitley Strieber. Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, but there's a link there. You can get any of my books signed.
Okay.
I'm happy to send them signed. So you can get them from me signed, and you can find out what I'm doing. I would encourage anyone who wants to be part of our cryptid Zoom group to share, just talk about it and share their experience.
I'm sure you're going to get plenty.
Yeah.
Yes.
Welcome to, we're going to start that on Thursday. We already have a couple of witnesses signed up who are very interesting people who other people you've heard about them because they've written books and they're going to be part of it. And I do have RV classes from time to time. We're starting the intermediate one next weekend, but that's for people who've already had the basic training. But I do have, mini free classes on my site, and you can get to that at resonantviewing.org. Resonantviewing.org.
Okay. And that's that is all the ways people can get a hold of you?
Yes, and just feel free to stay in touch, and I'm always happy. I'm on YouTube and Twitter. You're welcome to always contact me. I mean, I just love you. Like Jennifer, you're about to tell me some of your experiences. I always enjoy hearing people's experiences, so feel free to contact me on Twitter.
That is wonderful.
YouTube, and, just look me up, and I'm happy to correspond with people.
I would love
to have you back.
We'd love to have you back.
Yeah, let's do it another time, man. Let's make sure the technicals are working.
I'm gonna figure that out because that was unfortunate.
Yeah.
Whatever. But it's really been fun, guys, and I enjoy it. And let's talk again soon. And anyone who's listening, feel free to contact me. I'd love to send you a book.
Yeah, that'd be great. Off the air there. So we'll definitely plan to have you back, and we'll figure out the whole censorship thing.
Yeah.
And we'll make sure that we have a full 3 hours so we can get everything out. Because this was quite an interesting conversation.
And we'll go the full 3 hours, I think.
That's right.
All right, that sounds good. I'll go ahead and I'll give you a call here in a little while.
Okay, Simeon, we appreciate it very much.
Thanks a lot, guys.
All right.
We'll talk to you soon, okay?
Talk to you later.
Okay,
all right,
bye-bye.
Yep, bye.
So, folks, that was Simeon, and Dr. Simeon Hein, to be exact. Unfortunately, we were censored.
We were censored, yeah.
Essentially. There were multiple phone calls that came in, and then we had to contact Simeon by our cell phone.
Yep.
So that was how we were able to get him for the last half hour of the show.
Yeah, but like I told you today, my phone was acting so weird too, where it said that, I could only do emergency calls because there was no network.
Yes, very, very strange. I've been having problems. A lot of people, the internet has been just going up and down for people.
But
as a matter of fact,
the thing is, election day, or the midterm election or whatever is coming around the corner.
That's right. I can't imagine what is going to happen on Tuesday with Brian Homer or Dan Crenshaw or whatever have you.
Maybe they're going to try and shut down our internet and stuff so we can't see them cheat.
Well, if they do, they're going to have a problem on their hands.
Right.
So, unfortunately, we have to wrap it up. Jennifer, you have any closing words?
Just that this was a very fascinating show. I can't wait to have him back again. I hope that next time we don't get censored. And I wanted to say, have a good night, everyone.
All right. That was indeed very fun. And hopefully we can get him back for a full 3 hours and no censorship or shadow banning or banning, whatever you want to call it, will happen. Big conservative show here, so I'm sure we have a giant target on us. But folks, we'll never let that stop any conversations that we have with anybody. This has been Night Talks Radio, Saturday Night Live. We'll be back tomorrow for Sunday night, Night Talks Radio. We had a great night. Hope you did too. We'll talk to you tomorrow. So long, everybody.
So tired of all the darkness.
So, for NTR, our very special guest, Dr. Simeon Hein, our amazing co-host, Jennifer Gregerson, Spreaker.com, the voice of NTR, Kevin Robinson, LITM Media, Valhalla Beard and Body, Gentle Lady Boutique, and of course, the master of late night talk radio, Art Bell. Because if it wasn't for him, we wouldn't be here. And me, Daniel Brewer, saying until the next Night Talks Radio Live, stay safe and remember, they are listening. So long, everybody.